pony merch.
Yes, good morning. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Brilliant news this morning. Really top news. He has signed a new contract for sorry, I forgot. I'm not a Liverpool fan. I'm a Spurs fan. There's no brilliant news this morning for Tottenham. We fluffed our lines at home to Frankfurt. We're going to be discussing it. I'm sure there's lots of different opinions. Good morning to Stel. Good morning to Dan. Good morning to Johnny. Lubo will be joining us shortly, I'm sure, to tell us that we're all negative. Guys, let's kick off. I'm going to take it that you're all well. I'm taking it that this early hour of the morning, nothing has happened to ruin your day yet.
No, I mean, I got to be honest with you. Like, when you come back from the game and you come, I got home last night. I don't even remember what time I got home, about 11 o'clock. I thought, right, I'm knackered. And there I was, 2 o'clock in the morning, still up, chewing over the game, trying to get the highlights on my pad. Just to say to Stel said to me, why is he wearing a pony top? It was to symbolise, Stel, how pony we were in the first half. Yeah.
Guys, let's kick off. Anyone can kick off. I don't like doing the whole round robin thing. Look, we were told this was it. This was the game. This was what the whole season was gearing up towards. Don't worry about all the defeats in the league, one after the other. Don't worry about that. They're not important. The players aren't bothered about that now. Ange isn't bothered about that. It's about Europe. Would you say that translated to what we saw on the pitch? How we came out, all guns blazing? How we came out, the crowd were roaring to go? Anybody?
Who wants to go first? I'll go. As you're all slow off the mark. Look, for me, the start was symbolic of our entire season. We came out like we were asleep. They came out on fire. And Madison loses the ball in the middle of the park. No options ahead of him. He's like looking around on the floor. Savva's, I don't know what he's doing down there. Two passes, Tete, 4 players around him. No one presses him. Bang in the back of the net. Look, for me, they were there for the taking last night. They were there for the taking. They had a lot of injuries. And this manager screwed it up again. Yeah, we had the chances. Yes, we could have easily have won the game. But when you see them visibly tiring and you see a manager who's bitched the whole season about not having any bench to make any substitutions, and there was a laden bench full of players ready and willing to get on the pitch. Sonny was MIA. Solanke turned into Solanke, apart from one run. And you saw the guys warming up on the bench. Richarlison was prowling that touchline from about the 65th minute trying to get on. And what I don't understand is, why are you waiting to the 79th minute to make a substitution? That was your opportunity. 60 minutes, change the game. They were there for the taking. You could see it. Yeah, we were unlucky with our chances, 100%. We could have taken them. Bergvall, for me, was immense. He showed the way. He was head and shoulders above anyone on that pitch for me last night, playing well above his years with what looks like experience when he has none. I just think the sooner this manager goes, the better. And, we still have a chance out in Germany. But if we win this, it will be despite him, not because of him. And the one thing we got in our favour, Sav, just before I let everyone else go, is that the things Frankfurt seem to struggle with is the low block. And if we go out there and we're cautious and we play sort of a more defensive game, we can get them on the counter attack. Where they're really good when they got their full team out is they're brilliant in transition and moving the ball. And I think if we try to go toe to toe with them out there, we're going to get absolutely smashed to bits. So I'm hoping we go out there cautious. I'm flying out on Thursday. Thankfully, I thought it was a massive mistake that we were going to be going there, 2 or 3 down before the game started. But look, there are positives. We didn't lose. We could have scored. Other than that, I'll leave it to you guys now.
I agree with what you're saying on the aspect of it could have gone worse purely for the fact we could have lost it. We're not out of this, not totally, but it's not going to be bloody easy, that's for sure. It's their advantage now.
Yeah.
And we didn't take our chances, but then I'm a firm believer they didn't take their chances either. For me, that could have been 3-1 to them, 3-1 to us, or even 3-0. For me, there were some chances on there that where the other person just didn't get in the right place. There was clear-cut chance. There was chances. The problem for me in that game, it was the same bloody goal as it has been for the past, 6 to 8 months, easy. Down the flank. And do you know what? I said it on Stells last night. I don't blame Porro for half of it. He's not an inverted wing back. And how the hell is he half the time meant to get back from a number 10, which is basically to cover the back? But when he did get back there, he played the player on, basically. He played the player on to his good foot, and bang, there you go. But that just about sums up Porro for you. He is a terrible defender.
Can I just interject there 1 second, right? Just exactly what you were saying there. The one thing that I would add to that, that's why for me, Jed Spence had to play over Destiny, who didn't have a terrible game, because the whole point about Jed Spence is when Porro goes forward, then Jed can shuttle across to cover that right-hand side. Destiny can't do that.
It's what, for me, it's one or the other. For me, at the moment, Spencer's got to play.
Yeah.
And then Adoji plays. Or Adoji plays, or Adoji plays and Spence plays over there. Or Porro plays and then Spence plays. It's one or the other out of them two for me. Spencer's got to play. He's been our best player for about 2 months, I'd say. Maybe even a month more. Why the manager left him out, I've not got a clue. It left us absolutely no defence. We were stuck to do 2 defenders again. But again, same Spurs, different day, totally over the middle. And again, it's down to the tactics. But there was 1 or 2 players on that pitch that was absolutely shocking. I mean, Johnson, again, was he even there?
Olé.
Looks done and dusted. The thing with Bergvall, you said, right, I think Bergvall, I think he had an all right game. I've been saying he's one that he runs about, makes himself look busy and everything, looks good, but you don't get nothing at the end of it. You don't get a good pass. You don't get a shot. You don't get a cross. You don't get nothing off him off the end of his game. Whereas last night, you actually saw him get to that bit, and there was a couple of good passes in there, and he actually had a shot or 2. And that's what I want to see. So I think that was definitely one of Bergvall's better games overall, because you saw something at the end of it. Not that
Danny needs a coach, doesn't he? But you know what? We've talked a lot. We've talked a lot about young players, right, over this year. For me, he is the cream of the crop of the youngsters that we've got. I've said this all season. I've never watched Archie Gray and gone, yeah, I see it. Bergvall, I see it. But he needs a coach. He needs a set position, because a midfielder can't spend all game running around all over the place. You've got to have a position at some stage. And I think if he had a proper coach, you know me, I don't go overboard. You know me, Dad, about players. But he's the one where you think technically,
he's got something.
Build, physically, technically, brain, you can see he's got it in his feet, and you go, yeah. My worry is, I still don't know. Is he playing DM because he spends a lot of time there? Is he playing in the 10? Is he playing in the 8? I feel like we need a proper system where we can go, right, Bergvall's your number, whatever it may be. Good player, but needs honing. He needs and Ange. I know Arian will disagree with me. Ange is not that guy. He's not that guy.
One thing I put on it quick, Savva, is some people like out and out fluid football. Why? Because the team can do it. I prefer my football to be a little bit more what some would probably say pragmatic.
Mhm.
I'd rather have
Organised.
3 players on that. Yes, I'd rather have 3 players doing their thing on the pitch, but the others, you know your job, bloody do it. Unless it's some crazy moment where you get a chance or whatever, or you have to take a chance. I prefer organisation on the pitch. That is why I like Italian football so much. It's bloody organised. This team does not look organised in any means or manner. And what you said about the having a decent coach on there, I think you can say that about 9 or 10 of the players on there, not just the kids.
Oh, mate, sure. The
coaching
only
is
reason I'm picking
horrendous.
up Bergvall is because he's a teenager. You know,
Yeah, no, I totally understand that.
He's in that position where he's able to be molded. The same way for me, Destiny Udogie. The same way I've not seen any progression from Destiny Udogie in 2 years because he's not being coached. We can see he's an athlete. We can see he carries the ball, but you can see he's not being drilled how to defend. He's not being drilled where to be when the other team attack. These are things that coaching brings in rather than raw talent. But look, Stel, let me come to you before I come to Arian so that everyone can have their say and then we can descend into chaos, just like Ange's tactics. Stel, 6 minutes it took Frankfurt to hone in on Spurs' weak spot. And that right back area is becoming like Spurs' kryptonite every single game. And again, 6 minutes, Ekatike didn't even have to do a lot. Got the ball. Porro had no idea how to get touch tight to him. He showed him into his strong foot. Spursy?
Angie,
Like
not Spursy.
Angie, yeah.
I can hear feedback of someone. I don't know who it is. Ariane, is your mic and your headphone connected as one or something?
I'll mute myself if it's helpful.
Cheers, Ariane. If it's you, I don't know if it's you.
Still, straight away blaming you, Ariane. It might not even be you. Still, you're a bully, man. That's brilliant.
Got to plant, just planting some seeds on Ariane.
So go on, 6 minutes, Still. 6 minutes.
No one can complain about the starting lineup. That's the strongest squad that we've got. They're all fit. They're all ready, with the exception of Spence, who should have started. It's actually a massive injustice what's going on with Spence. The only reason he's playing for Spurs is because we had an injury crisis. He comes in, stands out as one of the best players consistently playing for Spurs, and then as soon as the big night comes, he's dropped. Just goes to show that Ange couldn't give a shit about him. Otherwise, he would have started him. It was a mindless decision. The goal they scored, Porro got goal side. He ran back. He was goal side. So I'm not going to accept for that goal that because he was inverted, that was a problem. It wasn't. He got back in position goal side. His issue is 1v1, which we call in the coaching world 1v1 domination, where you must dominate your opponent in any given 1v1 situation. He failed. And he fails consistently. And the reason he fails is because he's never been a good defender. And we don't have a coach that coaches defensive play. I think I've said it about 1 million times. Ange, Mason, Jedinak, the whole lot of them. We do not spend nowhere near enough time on 1v1 defending in terms of coaching the players to be better individual defenders. And then out of possession in the transition, we are a mess defensively, week in, week out. No matter who we play, we'll give away these silly chances. So when you've got individuals that aren't being coached to defend, and when you've got a defensive unit that doesn't defend as the unit when out of possession in the transition, this is what will happen. Let's not pretend that Frankfurt didn't do this to us many, many times. It's just that's the only time they scored. On the 45th minute before the whistle blew for half time, they had a 3-on-6. They should have scored. They messed it up. So for me, I can't stand Ange because his philosophy is possession, attack, possession, attack. Don't worry if we lose the ball. We'll just deal with it. No, you have to coach how to deal with it. You must develop that side of the game. In terms of the game as a whole, Spurs deserved to win it. We were the better team, in my opinion, overall. Frankfurt came to get a point. They came to get something out of the game. So they're laughing because They've got what they wanted. Frankfurt got what they wanted out of this game, and it's advantage to Frankfurt now because they're going to have a couple more players back. And the way their fans were last night and the way their fans reacted when they scored, we are now going to go into a stadium full of 58,000 fans like that. If they get the first goal, that stadium is going to be just like Anfield for Spurs, where we choke, we can't handle it, and we're going to get swallowed up. That's my fear. I think we can beat Frankfurt. I think we've got it in us. What I don't believe is we've got the minerals to manage the environment we're now going into, which is why I said we need a 2-goal lead going into the second leg. We should have got a 2-goal lead. We blew it because, unfortunately, and Dan touched on it, we've got some of the worst attacking front three players in the league for the money we spent. Richarlison, Solanke, Tell, Odebert, Timo, all these players, Johnson, they're not good enough. None of them deserve to be at Spurs, in my opinion. Richarlison, Son's a shadow of the player he was. None of the front three inspire me. Mikey Moore and Lancashire aren't going to get a chance, even though the others aren't delivering when it matters. So when you layer it all up, for me, last night, Spurs fucked it. We should have won that game. We did enough to win it. We were the better team. But Frankfurt, they came, they had a tactic, they pulled it off, whether it's luck, whether it's their goalie, whether it's because Spurs didn't take chances. They've got what they wanted, and I now think we're in big trouble. If we'd got that 2-goal lead, I would have fancied us big time. But now, I think we're walking into the Lions' Den with a group of players that I don't think have got the minerals for it. And I think we're probably going to go out now. Before the game, I said I think Spurs might squeeze the tie. We'll just go through. Now I don't know. I really don't know. I think we've got a big problem because we didn't take the chances.
Well, look, let me come to Aaron. Before we do, talking about minerals, there are 315 of you in here and 69 likes. Cue all the silly childish jokes. 69 likes versus 315 people is absolutely shocking. Come on, guys. Lots of people giving up their time this morning for this, so come on, smash that button. Arian, there was no Jed Spence. Within 6 minutes, we're 1-0 down.
Yeah, where do you want to start?
We didn't really go at them for a quarterfinal at home. It didn't seem like the players were up for it in the first half. What did you make of it all?
I pretty much fully agree with Stell's assessment of what happened. I do think we were. It was frustrating because it was it was a very frustrating result because I do think we were a better team on the day. Just couldn't get it in. That Van de Ven miss at the very end pissed me off because that guy's been useless aerially all season, and I was like, make up for it right now. But it's just like it sucks because 1-1 and you're going away, and he's completely right about the atmosphere. I'm equally terrified that we're gonna go in and just not be up for it. And as soon as the first goal goes in, the heads are gonna drop. And I don't know if maybe we can squeeze. I think the chances we have of going through are maybe 10% at the moment. I'm not very optimistic. I don't think, unless we just put on a performance that's been uncharacteristic of Spurs in the last month, right? And nothing points to a win right now in any game, right? So I'm not optimistic. I'm really not optimistic. I'm frustrated more than anything. I'm very frustrated, mostly because I've put my neck on the line for this guy, this manager, and I still like the guy. I do hope it works, but I'm at the end of my rope. I don't know.
Are you Ange out now? Sorry to interrupt you. Are you finally Ange out now?
What I told Savva is I'm Frank in. that's who I am. All right.
So you are basically Ange out now. You've accepted that he just can't do the job.
If you said to me, Thomas Frank comes in tomorrow, I would say do it. He's my number one choice. I think I would say do it. At this point, I would say do it. Right.
Arian, sorry, mate. 36 defeats since the 5th of November, 2023.
Yeah.
36 times you've had to watch this, and that's not even including the ones that we've drawn or we've scraped through.
No,
right? What is it going to take for yourself? I mean, I'm not just no disrespect, but you're American, right?
Do you know what it
and
is?
It seems a lot of the Australians, we get it, and the Americans, I don't know, the American contingent of fans, which we appreciate everyone from around the world with Sports Club, but seem to have a different mindset sometimes when it seems to come with sticking with managers. Yet, I mean, if they were in the NFL and they suffered this amount of defeats, would the manager still be in situ? Would you still be
I don't
saying
watch the
give him
NFL,
time?
but do you
All
know
right,
what I
or
think
the
it is?
NBA, whatever.
Do you know what I think it is? I think for me, I think the thing for me is I have to like dislike a manager to say like get him out. I think that's just all it is. Like it's just semantic. I do think his performance. I think his performance deserves him to get fired. Like I do think at this point I can't defend his
You-
performance. Okay, so I'll say that directly. But because I
You-
like him, I don't like saying that. I at the end of I was the same with
Right.
Conte. I was really Conte in. I was thinking this guy is but at some point he started feeling like he didn't like Spurs. He felt like he was doing a favor to us. So that's when I kind of turned on him. That's all irrelevant. Okay.
What you just said, sorry to interrupt you, mate,
Right.
but I'm struggling. What you have just said, and this ain't digging at ya, is the problem at Spurs. You like
sure.
him. You like him.
Yeah.
So you're quite happy with him to stay. That is one of the biggest problems for me at Spurs.
That's
Whether
fair. I'm not saying
it's
I'm
usually
not
a player
happy for him to stay,
or a
but
manager. No, but you like the fella.
I
Fair
do, I
enough,
like him.
yeah. But
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, business is business, and it's dog
Yeah.
eat dog world, yeah. If you ain't good enough, you ain't good enough. I don't care if you're my best mate. If you ain't good enough to do my job, baked potato, mate. See you later, and I'll get someone who can do the job. That what you said there is one of the biggest problems we have at this club. That is why Son should have been sold 2 years ago when we knew he was going to start slowing down, and we could have still got 70 million for him. But too many people still love him off and say we should keep him at the club. Love the player. He's been excellent for us, but he ain't the man anymore. And I don't agree on keeping players or managers just because you like them. It can be a bit harder to want to get rid of them because you like them.
Yeah,
I get
that's
that.
fair.
But for me, mate, that's one of the biggest problems we have in this club.
I don't disagree with the fact that a lot of the decision make, like if I was the chairman, if I was Daniel Levy, I would sack him. All right, I'm not shying away from it, but I'm
Fair
just
enough.
saying it's like the phrasing of it. I feel like it's like aggressive. That's all I'm saying. I do agree. It should not be a basis on decision.
So why do you like Ange then, Ariane? If you sack him,
I
why
like him
do
as
you
a
like
person.
him?
I like him as a person. That's why I don't want to say something that
Oh,
feels like
right.
as a person.
Not
I
as a
like him
manager, just
No,
as
not
a
as a manager.
human.
Not as a manager. Not
I
as
mean,
a
so
manager.
he's.
Right.
But
Yeah, that makes sense.
Fair enough.
No,
Fair
but
enough.
Ange came here with the philosophy. Unfortunately, his philosophy is all talk and no
It
walk.
does seem like he's a politician the more
philosophy
he goes
is-
on now. I do agree with that.
It's
It does,
the philosophy has no reality in the real world, and what this is a guy who's come in and says he's reinvented football. This is a guy who's come in from Australia, and he thinks that he can reinvent football. Something he's found a game that none of the greats of all time have managed to find and deliver this football, but he hasn't. And the fact of the matter is, no one's seen Ange Ball for I don't know. Ange Ball doesn't exist anymore. Ange Ball never did exist. It was a philosophy and a story that he spun to the board, and the only people buying it was his mate Scott Munn, right? And now it's the only person that's keeping him in there, probably up at the top. Scott Munn in Daniel Levy's ear. Give him time, Daniel. Give him time. It's a philosophy. It's not a philosophy. It's bullshit. The guy preaches and he preaches and he preaches and he doesn't practice what he preaches. None of this bothers me. None of this bothers me. And every time he's confronted with a question, he reacts in a shit-ass way. He attacks the fans. And this isn't a new thing. This started at Man City. And I'll tell you, although I wanted Ange gone February 2024, when it really got me and I decided I'd had enough, was when he was asked last season before the Arsenal game, what does this mean to you, this Arsenal game? And he said, it doesn't mean anything. It's the same as any other game. No, this is the London derby. It means everything to us, right? And we were 3-0 down before we knew it. 3 set pieces, the usual thing. We didn't practice them. And then he doesn't give a shit about that. But come the Man City game, he really wants to win this one because he wants to show pep, right? And then he goes at the crowd and the fans and all the rest of it for us not wanting Arsenal to win. The guy is a fraud, unfortunately, for all of us. And he's a guy who's been given the reins and all he's done is drive this club backwards, okay, for 2 years. Look back 4 years where Arsenal were and where we were. Now look where we
Yeah,
are.
no, it's depressing. It's so depressing
Here he
because
is. Here he is. Here he is to put us all in our place. Headmaster Lubo. Here he is. Look, guys. Going back to the
Morning,
game.
guys.
Good morning. Good
Morning,
morning, Ian.
Lubo.
You're looking radiant this morning, Ian. You look very well today.
Not as good as you in those photos, all spruced up. You know, starting your modelling career, you are now.
The thing is, no one else other than you and Danny in this group have any idea what you're talking about. Like,
Is this the Sun?
I had some photos done yesterday in my. I've been doing some work for the Sun newspaper for the last 2 days, so we were allowed at the end to have some photos taken by the actual photographers with the proper lighting and the background. I made the mistake of putting them in the group, thinking people might go, yeah, they're all right then. Nope. Only Ellie was complimentary. Only Ellie. Look, just kidding.
Hey, listen, Sav, do you remember when the Sun used to have page 3 for girls and page 5 for men? They're starting up page 5 now, aren't they?
This guy, yeah, I'm getting them out for the boys. Look, let's get back to the game. So look, a real bad start, 6 minutes straight away. And again, I agree still, it wasn't so much that it was the inverted fullback, but it was the case that Etikite, I always get his name, Ekatike, had pulled off to that left-hand side, knowing this is where Spurs concede from. Then it just felt like, do you remember in the Poch days? Do you remember in the Harry Redknapp days? Do you remember in the any days where we're at home, we fly at teams, we go at them, and it's like, we're at home, let's throw the kitchen sink. It just felt like it was sideways, Van der Ven to Romero to Van der Ven, out to Son, 5-yard pass inside. And it was like, it just didn't feel, guys, that they were up for a European Cup quarter-final. That was a real concern for me, that we'd been told we were waiting for this moment. Why? Is that on the players? Is that an amalgamation of things? Is this the manager? Why weren't we up for this? Why did we look so bad in that first half?
Well, I thought the first 20, I thought we were poor. I mean, the goal, superb goal. I mean, several of them stood off him, didn't they? It wasn't just Porro. I think Van der Ven should have closed him down. Nobody went to him. It was, a drill. Fabulous goal. I mean, what a player. What a player. He'd light up the place at our place, wouldn't he? In our team.
Who? Ekatike?
Oh, terrific. What a player.
Not as good as your Solanke. You promised me all year when he comes back from injury that we're going to see the missing link.
I know. He's gone backwards since injury, hasn't he? Badly. The rates are nuts.
He's never gone forwards in his career, mate. I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what we're doing.
That's another subject.
We'll
talk about the first part, aren't we?
We'll get to Solanke later. Don't worry.
And I think it was interesting. I was listening to, just coming back from Hanging Lane, I was just listening on Talk Sport, and we had Alex Crook, Sam Matterface and Troy Deeney talking about last night's game. And I think Alex Crook was saying that Spurs started very, very slowly, gave away the goal, took them 20 minutes to get their act together. He said that after that, he thought Spurs controlled the flow of the game. And yesterday was a lost opportunity, basically.
Agreed.
It really was.
Agreed. But Lubo, I'm asking a question. Why are they not coming out the traps in minute 1 at home against a European team that we knew we were going to have the ball? We know that if anyone watches Frankfurt, they're not a team that have 60-70% possession in a game. That's not how they play. So why weren't we able to come out and go at them? Why weren't we peppering their goal in the first 10 minutes? Why weren't we?
Can I interject something real quick? By the way, this Frankfurt team, they have the same amount of league wins since losing Marmouche as we do. They're not great either. They're not right. So
exactly, Aaron.
It even puts the performance into that extra bit of context. Like, it's not like we're playing Bayern. We're not playing Leverkusen.
No,
we're
but
playing
Aaron,
Frankfurt.
we never start strong, do we? When do we ever start? When do we ever come out the blocks quickly? This team, they don't.
Shit.
They don't. I mean, we could have been 3 down in 7 minutes at Ipswich, just to use one example. We never start strong.
Guys, look at the way we play and look at the players we've got. We play a 4-3-3 every single week. There's no adaptation to it. There's no. Do you know what? This team aren't that good. Let's overload the midfield. Let's go 2 up front and put 4 in the midfield, or 3 at the back, 5 in the middle, 2 up top. There's no adaptation. It's the same pattern. So if you're Frankfurt, you know what Spurs are going to do. You know how they're going to play. Just stick to the game plan, like AZ Alkmaar did. When we went to their ground and how they almost did at our ground. That's the first thing. We're easy to read. We're predictable. Secondly, the players. Other than Madison, who consistently takes on players? I mean, Udogie tried. He was successful once or twice and won some free kicks. And then Ange takes off the one player that's actually a baller. Bentancur doesn't beat players.
No.
But Bergvall travels with the ball well, but he doesn't take on the players. He travels with it quite well.
He tries to take them on. He tries to take them on. Odegaard is the only one in the squad who actually attempts. In fact, I think I saw a stat where Odegaard...
And he wasn't starting, Johnny. And he wasn't starting.
He had a hamstring problem.
There was a reason for that. There was a reason for that.
Yeah, he had a hamstring problem.
Yeah.
Listen, at the end of the day, if you're playing a team that's going to be defensive, you need a locksmith, someone that can unpick doors. Someone that's got the technical ability to either thread a killer pass between very tight lines like Modric used to do, or dink a really delicate ball over the top to feet like Eriksen used to do, or someone that can take on a man. We don't have those caliber of players. We haven't developed those caliber of players. Maybe, like what you said, Savva, earlier, if we had a better coach, he could develop Bergvall's game to do that more often. Maybe he could develop a player like Odegaard or a player like Moore. We know Moore's got it in his locker, but he doesn't want to play him. He could maybe develop Odegaard to be more successful at it. The issue is our players haven't been developed. We don't have locksmiths. We've got Madison. He's the only one really that can do it, in my opinion, consistently. And I'm not surprised that he got the ball, beat a man, and set up the opening goal. I'm not surprised because that's what he can do, and he takes him off. You take him off at the most crucial part of the game.
The only other two I've seen that tries to take a player on properly is actually Odegaard or Bergvall. They're the only two that I'm not saying they're successful when they do it, but I've seen Odegaard try and do it a few times. I think with Odegaard, there is a player there. I've got to see a lot more to say that he could be good, bad. I haven't really seen enough of him to judge him. But on his feet, I think he actually looks quite... I think he looks quite good in his feet. The only other player we've got that I can think of that actually takes his man on and gets the job done by taking his man on, but then just can't do jack shit after it, is Werner. He can do it better than Son.
Because Werner has that weird little move on the wing where he beats every defender ever, and then he fucking hits it into the side netting or something.
Exactly. If the man
Werner is rubbish. He's a rubbish footballer.
But he still takes his man on and he still gets past these players better than Son.
There's no end product. It's pointless.
Yeah,
I know. That's what I said at the start.
But couldn't you say that about Odegaard? If you look at Odegaard over the years, he's never had... I know he's young, but he's never had a really end product. Look, my issue isn't...
I don't rate Odegaard. I don't rate him.
I know.
He had one good game against AZ Alkmaar. What's he done at Spurs other than that?
Yeah, but hang on. Timo Werner, currently... right, he's lying around on 170 grand a week eating schnitzel. That's all he's doing. That's all he's doing. Like, no, he's never going to play again. That's him. He's
if he could show...
We signed him.
Johnny, the worrying thing here is, to Stell's point, is whatever people think about James Madison, he is the only one, when you watch Spurs play, that wants to get it out his feet quickly, wants to look forward for the pass, wants to... And you could see he's getting frustrated because he's starting to do, if you remember, what Harry Kane started to do. He is dropping. At first it was, I'll drop deep into midfield. Now it's dropping to the left back, right back, centre back area to pick up the ball because Spurs don't actually progress it quick enough. You've got Romero and Van der Ven that, for me, they bring it out too slowly. It's too slow. They bring it out. It's slow. It's ponderous. And Madison, you can see, is going, get me the ball. Get me the ball. And again, yesterday we saw the goal, like Stell said. The footwork for the goal was brilliant, right? Reminded me a bit of when he did it against Arsenal at the Emirates last season.
Yeah.
Out of his feet, right across. Then the footwork for the chance he created for himself, where he put the defender on his arse. Cruyff turn, shot in on goal. He's the only player in our squad that can do
He's a
that.
playmaker, Savva. He's a playmaker.
Yes, he's a playmaker. Ange brings him off. Brennan Johnson, who is the most infuriating footballer I think I've ever seen in my life, who is, if he's not tapping in, we may as well have had me out there on the right. Lubo, you could have played out there on the right. He does the square root of nothing. And unfortunately, guys, Sonny is now that guy. I know we can blame Ange, we can blame whatever we want. Sonny has gone. Like, this guy is not fit for purpose anymore.
Madison's got to play for more. Listen, everything you said, Savva, is spot on. The only thing is, as a professional footballer, if you want to achieve the standard of, you know, where he wants to be, I'm afraid England will be a long distant memory for him if he continues to only turn up for around 30 minutes in a game. He needs to stop the bullshit of diving on the floor, arguing with the referees, arguing with every player on the pitch, right? And concentrate more on what he's good at, which is staying on his feet, right? And opening up defences, because we know he's got it all in his locker.
He's not getting the ball in those areas, mate. Listen, if you watch Bruno Fernandes at Man United, they get the ball to Bruno in this is, I'm not even praising Man U, by the way. This is a very poor Man U. But they get the ball to Bruno Fernandes in areas where he can hurt teams. James Madison's having to come back to his own half to pick up the football. He doesn't want it there.
Savva, there's a difference here, right? And, you know, I'm speaking to people who are much more educated in football than myself. And they said that they thought that Madison will struggle under Ange's system. Why? Because James Madison likes to receive the ball, plays behind the front two or the front one, wherever it is, right, and receive the ball in space. Unfortunately, we saw it early part of last season after about 10, 11 games. We are so inverted.
And
the teams pack out that middle of the park. There is no room for him to operate. So what he has to do is he has to drop deeper to find that space. And I'm not being funny. He's very good at opening up from that position, but he's no quarterback that's going to pick up a ball from the base, pick up off the back four and spray a ball, 40 yards across the pitch. He's not that player. And
how much do you think he regrets joining us instead of Newcastle, dude? Imagine how much he probably loses sleep over that decision every night. Imagine if he was at Newcastle right now. He ends a 70-year trophy drought. They play a brand of football where I think he'd excel with Isaac and Gordon, and he can play in that spot role under Eddie Howe. And instead, he's in this shithole.
Yeah,
I think Madison's very frustrated at Spurs. I think a lot of the arguing with the refs, banging on the ground, rolling around. I think his frustration is coming out because when a player's in flow, and it's just and they've got momentum in the game, they don't really do too much of that.
Yeah.
I just think he's so fucked off with this, and it's so obvious. It's almost like our fan base is in complete denial. When he went off, you don't need to be a body language expert to see he's not happy. How many times have we seen that? How many times have we seen Madison sitting on the bench like this, slumped, head down? I see it once every 3 games. Madison, that's his body language. He's not a happy bunny at Spurs. It's clear. And it is because of the way we play. I think what Johnny said's right. He's having to drop back deeper and deeper, and that's not his game. He doesn't enjoy it. He doesn't enjoy having to do that.
I mean, when people tell me Madison's not that good, the thing that makes me laugh is he's the only one that can open up teams. Like, do you know what? I truly believe if James Madison had the injury some of the others would have, we'd be seeing an even worse Spurs. He's the only one centrally that creates.
No, to be fair, we have Kulusevski as well, right? Kulusevski is another one that I think he can create.
He is, but the
not to the
difference
extent of Madison.
The
He's
difference
the other
between
way,
Kulu and Madison, Kulu holds on to the ball for too long. Madison's first fault is Madison's a natural playmaker. He gets the ball. You can see his first thought is, where's my options? Can I twist? Can I turn? Kulu, for me, very good technical footballer, but for me, just wants a few seconds too long every time he gets the ball. But for me, you should be finding a way to get them both in the team.
Sure. Yeah, but Savva, see, because the system's so rigid and Ange doesn't budge from it, He'll never play them two together. He never does because he knows if he plays both of them, what he's got to do is play with two number 10s. He's got to play with 2 number 10s.
Sad. Still, they look good. They look good at City together, didn't they? 4-0.
Swap Son and Kulu. By the way, forget people like Bergvall. This was done pre-season, right?
Yeah.
Swap Son for Kulusevski. You've got 3 defenders all playing in their natural position. You've got 2 wing-backs playing their natural position. You could swap, I don't care, swap Basuma for Bergvall, I don't care. You've got 2 centre-mids playing centre-mid. You've got 2 playmakers that can drift wherever they want. And
he won't do it. He won't do it.
He doesn't.
He won't do it.
Who will do that? Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank will do that.
Listen, there's
that's how Palace play, by the way.
Any decent manager would. Any decent manager would give it a go.
I'm just saying. I've been high on Thomas Frank for when we were on the manager hunt. He was also one of the people I wanted to see. Even though
I think you've been sniffing frankincense. For me, though, there's a reason why. The Leicester fans called him 33 1/3, James Madison. 33%, 33 1/3% playing out of his skin, 33% injured, and 33% trying to come back from his injury. There is a talent there, undoubted talent, right? But like all the players under Ange's system, no one thrives. Solanke's not thrived. No one has thrived. And the problem is, we have a coach that isn't going to change. He hasn't progressed any players. You know, I look at Glasner, and what he's done with, say, Mateta. Look what he's done with Mateta. Look what he's done with Tarek Mitchell. Looks even more solid. Gahey's cut out a lot of the mistakes that he's made. Adam Walton, how he's progressed.
Munoz.
Adam Walton,
How good is Munoz?
Munoz, right? You know,
Mate, Lacroix.
You know,
Lacroix.
Yeah, and look, I would welcome Glasner here at this club, and he can bring Eze with him.
And hang on, Johnny, just quickly, I've got to interject. Someone said this yesterday, right? So Chloe in my chat, who's a friend of mine, is a Crystal Palace. I think she's a season ticket holder. And she was like, keep your hands off Glasner. And I was like, at first, yeah, bring Glasner, bring us Glasner and tell him to bring Guehi and Eze. And then I was like, actually, while he's there, tell him to bring Lacroix. Actually, we'd like Munoz as well. You know what? Actually, I'll take Jefferson Lerma and Wharton. Tell you what, while you're there, can we have Mateta and Eze as well? They've assembled a better 11 than Tottenham Hotspur.
That's Dougie Freeman before he left. Now, they're going to miss Dougie Freeman because Dougie Freeman's an absolute genius, right?
Agreed.
He was in line to get the Newcastle job and was interviewed by the Saudis. And although he never got that job, he got offered a massive job in the Saudi second division of all places, where he's going to be the head of sports. So he's getting mega money, but he should have been picked up by I mean, if Dougie Freeman had come to Spurs instead of Johan Lang, I think we would have had he would have bought Adam Walton for a start. Anyway.
Yeah. They've got good recruitment. They've got good recruitment.
They've got good recruitment. I mean, look at Lacroix. Lacroix, if anyone remembers, was actually Mickey van der Ven's partner.
He wasn't that special back then.
At Wolfsburg, right? Yeah. But you look, do you know, I always say this. We talk about Romero, we talk about Van der Ven. For me, I just want to play like Lacroix. You never ever see any nonsense about him. He doesn't get overpraised. He doesn't get underpraised. He just gets out there every week, does his job, gives a solid 7, 8 out of 10. The Palace fans love him. Palace's defence is very good. Gets on with it, right? That's all I want at Spurs. That's all I want. Just solid players that do a job. Again, yesterday, Romero, Van der Ven. For me, it's just overhyped. It's not. Just my opinion.
Savva, I think a lot of it is the development of the players as well.
Agreed.
I thought Romero had a decent game last night. He was the only player in that kind of back line that when he got the ball, as he pushed forward, he always looked for a ball into the middle. He was trying to get it to Bergvall, get it to Madison. And that was lacking from most other players. I've said it many a times on your show and on my channel. I want to see Van der Ven and Romero together under a manager that knows how to coach the defensive side of the game.
I agree.
Because at the moment, what we're seeing right now is a group of players that are crying out for someone to just say, I'll make you better. Listen to me. I'll show you. We'll work on it. I'll make you a better player. Unfortunately, we don't really have that. We've just got a manager this is how we play, stick to this system, and it all will come together. Let's do 2,621 passing drills and everything will come together. It's not how it works. You know I was going to say, Stel, that you're spot on.
Stavros. Sorry, I was between the two, right there.
Sorry, between the two Greeks, just a bit of casual racism in there. It's like, Stavros, that'll do.
Yeah, just call me Mr. Sharon.
Let's see if there's any plates around in my background that I can smash on the floor for you.
I know it's Stavros. There were some people around me. There were some people around me in the stand last night. They were doing my nutting. They kept saying, "What is Romero doing there? What is Romero doing up the pitch?" What I said, mate, shut up. Do you not understand football? They're progressing the ball. He's progressing the ball. Without him, he made a run at one point in the game in the second half where he picked up the ball. His shirt was dragged by two defenders. He still managed to somehow work his way through. He's there for the headers. He's driving the ball. His eye for a pass. I don't think fans really realise, those that are sitting there slagging him off, saying he's a pile of dog shit and that he needs to go, have no idea. Be careful
I don't
what
think anyone's saying he's dog. No one's
Loads
saying
of
he's dog
people.
shit, though, Johnny.
A
No
lot
one's saying he's
of
dog
fans,
shit.
far too many, saying he needs him gone. He's not behind this club. He doesn't give a shit about the club. Loads, unfortunately.
I mean, I'll argue that with anyone that he doesn't give a shit about the club. I'll argue that with anyone. But just to counter your point there, Johnny, it's all well and good when he does fly forward. But what about when this happens, ladies and gentlemen? There he is, absolutely busting a gut, leaving our defence wide open. This is the last minute of the first half, right? 4-on-2. Now, this is what I was assured by my mate Lubo, by the way, of all people. Lubo assured me. Let me show you guys. When I showed everybody pictures like this, when it happened all day long against Liverpool, I was assured, yeah, but when Romero and Van der Ven come back, that doesn't happen because they're better defenders. Here's Romero and Van der Ven. I'm not blaming them, but this goes to show it is not who's playing, it is the tactics. And 100%. Unfortunately, Ange should be saying to Romero, I don't need you. How is the centre half that far away from the action? That guys, that should never happen in a top team, should it?
Never.
Look at it.
Never.
Look at that 4-on-2. And this is why when people say we should have battered them last night, that should have been 2-1 Frankfurt at half time. That chance right there should have been 2-1. So
they could have walked that in.
Huh?
They could have walked that in between the four of them. They literally walked it in.
I agree.
That
that
also
doesn't go down as a big chance like you were arguing with Danny last night, Lubo. I saw it.
No, that's right. No, listen,
they had a few chances.
I refer to my friend Stel for that, for an explanation there.
That's not a big chance. It's not.
No, I know.
But then we did come to an agreement on differences between chances and clear-cut chances. And we made chances.
Stel, how many big chances did we have last night? Factually. Do you know how many?
I think it was two.
Oh, really? We had two? I thought we had zero.
We had two big chances, which was the goal.
There's a difference between the words clear cut and the word chances. Frankfurt had chances.
Yeah.
Clear cut. That's the way we are. Look, the other issue with that is it's not just that the defenders are pulled too high up the pitch, leaving empty gaps to attack. This is why, if you're going to play this football, you must play with a proper six.
Correct.
That's your cover. That's your protective layer. We don't play with a six. So it's almost a double whammy. All the defenders push up and will take any player that should protect you out of the tactic completely. This is the madness of Ange. This is the craziness of it.
This is where people just see football in different styles, different ways. Everyone's got their own way of preferring to play. The way I would play this game, this team, is counter-attacking football, three at the back. You all know it. Pressing forward when you can, but the way I would personally play a game is the second you lose that ball, If the one person there can't go for it, forget it. Come back and then start again. Whereas other people prefer to play football. You get it into their half, you lose the ball in their half, you go to get the ball back in their half. I just look on it slightly differently, the way I would prefer to play football. To me, it's each to their own. I would personally say, especially for the way we play, a lot of the time I feel we'd be better if we dropped back and then slowed it down for a couple of seconds and tried to get the ball back in our own half. But
Dan,
that's just
do you know what? Do you know what? When you teach pressing, okay, there's so many variants to it. You can have a one-man press where one person goes to the ball and then one or two around, they also push up to the nearest players. And if that's beaten, then everyone retreats. Or it could be those three press.
That's how I'd do it.
Then a second layer presses. And if that's beaten, then you leave it to the defenders. It could be you lose possession, everyone drop back. There's so many ways of pressing. There's sometimes you can hunt in two, like they call it hunting in packs, to double down on the press. There's so many variations. Barcelona, who I think were the best at it, what they used to do was, if they lost the ball in the opposition's half, every player would go to the nearest man. That was the tactic. Go to the nearest man and press them hard.
Makes sense.
If you don't win the ball within 5 seconds, everyone drop. That was their tactic. And it worked a treat. They were so well drilled in it and they had excellent players. They pulled it off. When Spurs press, I don't get us pressing. Sometimes I see Solanke go, then I see Son. Other times I see no one going. Sometimes I see one go, two go, but then the third one doesn't, so they just pass it to that side. We're a very disjointed team when it comes to pressing.
There's no fluid in there. And with what you're saying about the counter, I agree with you. The way I would probably do it is striker, unless you're next to the ball, don't worry about it, mate. Just stay up the other end of the pitch. As far as I'm concerned, a striker and a keeper can do absolutely nothing in the game, but when it comes down to the crunch, as long as they do their job and put it in back of the net and done the save, I don't care about them too. But if the striker is closest to it, go for it. If not, keep your place. And then the two closest players to the ball, or one to the ball and one to the closest pass, yes. The rest, I'd have totally come back straight away. That's how I would personally do it.
See, Liverpool under Klopp were very aggressive pressing team, like really aggressive with it, and they found a lot of joy doing it. But again, they were very well drilled, man. It was just second nature to them. They worked their asses off doing it. I think Spurs, if we're going to be this pressing team, that's the way to go about it. But
What way? The way
it's got to be consistent. It's got to be consistent. We're very inconsistent with it. We're very inconsistent with our press.
Coach still. Look, you could see the teams that press well. It's coached. Look at Newcastle when they hunt down. Right. If you watch Newcastle, they always have on the left-hand side. You'll have Hall, Gordon, and one of the three central midfielders comes out, and they hunt in a pack. Same on the right-hand side with Livramento or Trippier. Murphy and one of the midfielders who comes out, and then the other midfielder sits in and acts as the anchor. You watch Newcastle do it, you see it's coached, and that takes time on the training pitch. When you watch Spurs, it's sort of, you're right, it's sporadic. Oh, I'll go. Shall you go? Do you want to go or shall I go? You press this time. It's not in packs. By the way, smash the like button, people. We've got 500 people in here, only 157 likes, which is shocking. Please subscribe to everyone on my panel as well. Please subscribe to the Hotspur Hood. Please subscribe to Tottenham Away as well. And please subscribe to myself as we're hunting down the 17.1K now. Been very tight on the subs in the last few days, people. So smash that button. And super chats. Big up to George, who said, well done on the 17K, Savva. Well deserved. Thank you, George. A couple of week ago, but thank you. Felt like forever to get there, but thank you very much. I really appreciate you. Anthony Clark with a super sticker as always. Much love, my friend. Really appreciate you. And DMB Forever, always with the super stickers. I appreciate that as well. I'm going to put the link to subscribe in the chat. Guys.
Savva, can I wanted to ask you, right? No, I'll ask everyone. What's your honest opinions, everyone, on Dominic Solanke? Because we had a massive back and forth last night.
Awful.
And my question is this. Was his time at Bournemouth a purple patch, one season wonder? Or is that the beginning of him showing he's a late bloomer and we're just letting him down at the moment? Because a lot of people say to me, oh, he doesn't get the service. But other players seem to get the service. they seem to be in a position to get the service. So I just want to know, what's your thoughts on Solanke? Because we spent a lot of money on this guy, and I'm very underwhelmed by him. My opinion is I don't get it.
You? But still, are you underwhelmed? Because this is exactly what I thought we were getting. This is exactly
what I saw at Bournemouth. Yeah.
What I saw at Bournemouth was a player that, listen, sometimes teams have a good year. One player is the beneficiary from that. We've seen, if you look down the history examples of that, Michael Ricketts had a great year, right? People like Trevor Benjamin had a great, right? Remember these names, people, right? Had a great year. There are strikers that have a good year, but there's a difference between having a good year and being a top player that does it year in, year out. So, for example, the example on your show last night that Alex gave, which was completely wrong, was he said, oh, let me look at Chris Wood. Yeah, Chris Wood, look what he's doing. But again, if you actually look at Chris Wood's had 8 Premier League seasons in his career, and in 6 of them has scored double figures. He's got 18 this year, 2 years of 14, and then 2 years of 10. Now, by the way, I'm not saying I want Chris Wood. I'm not saying Chris Wood is amazing.
There's some consistency there.
But there's consistency there to what he's done.
Yeah.
Dominic Solanke has had 1 good year in the Premier League in his career. All his other good years have been in the Championship. Now, I was trying to have this conversation with little Matty K in the chat yesterday. That was going, yeah, but he still had good years in the Championship. Yeah, many strikers have great years in it. Timo Pukki is phenomenal in the Championship. Jonathan Macken is phenomenal in the Championship. Bring them to the Premier League. This is a different level. And the worrying thing for me, Stell, is even if we move away from the lack of goals, right? His all-round game is horrible. He is the weakest big centre-forward I've ever seen. He is always going to the floor. Centre-halves knock him over for fun. His hold-up is crap. His touch is crap. I don't know what he's done, but he's like Ange. We've got this person from a weaker, we've got this person from lower levels, yeah? Brought him in, and everyone's blinded by something. He failed at Liverpool. He failed at Chelsea, right? He had 1 decent year, and most of his goals are with his head, right? 36 Premier League goals by the age of 27 is utterly disgusting.
You know what it is?
Savva, I agree.
Iriola. Go on, Dan. Go on, Dan.
But the reason I give for it is I don't rate him highly as a player at all. I did not want this player at all. But it's another player that we do not play to what he's actually good at. We play him as a target man. And like you just said, he can't hold the bloody ball. He can't control the ball too well. He's not great with his feet. He's not a bloody target man. And that is what we play him as. The way I see it. I think he's more of a pressing, personal opinion, I think he's more of a pressing forward that presses forward basically and gets the ball delivered to him where he taps it in or he gets a decent cross in and puts it in the back of the net. When did we actually cross the ball last night where it went over someone's shoulder? What, twice?
We got a lot of good crosses in the box yesterday. He wasn't once there. On the end of it, he got in the end of one with a really timid effort into the palms of the goalkeeper.
But what I'm saying is we didn't get many over the top of the shoulder that come down for someone to give it a good header in.
And let me ask you,
that's probably his stronger point.
I was begging.
Dan, let me ask you and everyone else then. This, for me, I don't think he's any better at anything than Richarlison is. If you actually look at their career as well, all of the stats and the data shows you that Solanke has actually not done what. By the way, I don't want Richarlison. Please don't take away.
I agree, but Savva,
I think
what is Richarlison best at?
Richarlison is better than Solanke. I'm sorry, I'm not having this, right? I'm not.
Yeah, but what is he best at? Is what I'm saying.
Richarlison to death, right? And I understand it. He deserves it because his career at Spurs has been shambolic. But I'm not having a guy that's sort of idolised in Brazil, has done it in the World Cup, has done it on the big stage, and was a player at Everton, was a player at Watford. It has not happened here. But Dom Solanke, I was praying we never signed him. Ange Postecoglou's talent ID, Ange Postecoglou's talent ID is absolutely freaking shocking, right? He's been given too much authority with Munn and Lange to sign these players for 5-10 million more. You could have got Gyökeres. There's 101 strikers or players. I would have got Mbuemo before I would have got Johnson.
The lap at Ipswich.
Pardon?
What's Richarlison's strong point?
Pardon?
Johnny? What is Richarlison's strong point?
Richarlison.
What is he best at? He's not a good player, but everyone has something that they are best at.
He's not a good player. I still think that. Well, he's good in the air. He's good in the air. Number one,
his strongest point. That is his strongest point.
He presses as well as Solanke. He's good in there. What he's not a prolific goal scorer. Never has been.
Nope.
But when you look at what his contribution is, not for this club, and I'm not going to sit here and defend what his contribution has been for this club because it's not been anywhere near good enough.
My point is, with them two, I don't rate either of them as a player. I think they are both, if I say bang average.
Iraola, look, the thing is, Iraola,
we don't give them what they are good, what they are the best, what they are for them, what they are best at.
Right,
and that is in the air.
Listen, look, if you look at Emery, what Emery did.
This is the Soldado argument again. We never gave the ball to Soldado in the 6-yard box, so he's shit now. It's like
Soldado was playing with two players. Soldado had another player by him all the time.
You can't be that rigid as a player. You can't be that rigid. I'm only good if I get A, B, C, D, E, F. There's got to be more to your game than that. Surely
you can. Look, when Emery came to Forest. Look, when Emery came to Villa, should I say, he looked at Ollie Watkins, and Ollie Watkins, if you've ever watched him at Brentford, right, he worked his bollocks off, right? He was closing down, he was running, he was doing all this pressing, exactly like Solanke was doing, right? And he turned around to him and said, look, I don't want you dropping deep. I don't want you doing that. I want you working the centre-backs, okay? I want you breaking the lines. I want you to conserve your energy for that, right? What happened? Solanke, Ollie Watkins started scoring. And what Iraola did with Solanke, he said to him, I don't want you dropping deep. I don't want you doing that. All I want you to do, when he had that first season in the Premier League, right, I want you to work the line. I want you to work that front line, and we will get the balls to you. I don't want you dropping deep. I don't want you doing X, Y, and Z. We're going to play to your strengths. And that's what he did. And this clown of a manager has brought in this guy for 65 million and has never played to his strengths, never played to what he's
exactly my points.
Exactly
my points, Johnny.
Exactly. I agree.
He's not good. Richarlison is not good. But what they are both best at is in the air. And there's a lot out there, a lot better. But every player has something he is best at, yeah? And then he has other things which he's not good at. Some players have a couple of things that they are good at, and other players. But them two, their strongest points are in the air. What does one thing we do not do? Cross that ball in that net unless we drill it across the floor or get some stupid pass that goes to like shoulder level like yesterday. So if you're going to buy someone like Solanke or Richie, for me, you buy a player for his best points. We need someone on the side crossing that ball in all the time. Where Porro, for me, would be the perfect person up front.
Perfect. Absolutely right, Dan.
How many headers did Bentancur get yesterday? How many headers did Bentancur get?
Exactly.
Why is Solanke not the one on these balls? The balls are coming in.
Right.
The striker is failing, guys.
It's not good enough.
I agree. He's not good.
So we are playing to his strengths. He's just not reading the game.
No,
we are because the balls are coming in. He's not reading
one
the game.
Game still. Still, name me a match where we've put over 5 crosses that have gone in the air. 6 crosses. When
I can't remember every game, every cross right now.
Because we don't do it. Because we don't do it still. Because we haven't got no one who can.
It's not saying to me how many through balls do we play? How many balls do we play to the left? I can't. Just like that, I can't give you an answer.
What Stell's saying, right? What Stell's saying, and he's right, is the fact that this manager, knowing what the strengths are, should be telling him, "You are not prime Harry Kane. Stop dropping deep."
I agree.
You're not going to drop deep and spray a ball 20 yards to the other side of the pitch and then run back into it. Never. Play to his strength. The manager's clueless, and he's working with a limited striker.
We don't even have someone who can cross a ball apart from Porro when he goes up that pitch.
Hang on. I'm going to dispel this myth immediately. This is another situation where people are talking with heart over head that Dominic Solanke is brilliant in the air and this is his strength. How many Premier League goals in his career? How many Premier League goals in his career has Dominic Solanke scored with this?
I'd say about a third of them.
No idea.
I'm
I
about
can't say
to
a
show
number,
you.
but
guys.
I'd say about a third of his goals.
You. I'm about to show you. If everyone can look at that, Dominic Solanke has 6 headed goals in the Premier League. 6. So that would tell you that's not his strong point of his game. That would tell you that's not how Bournemouth... Hang on. That would tell you that's not how Bournemouth played to him. He has scored 30... Let's have a look at how shambolic this is, by the way. Right? We are Tottenham Hotspur. We've got a guy here. Right? You know how I like to do some stats and data, and I know other people don't. They just like to say things, right? This is... Anyone want to know what this is a goals per game ratio?
36 into 56. What's that? 20%?
Right,
Sorry, 36 in how many?
He scores
156. It's about 20%.
Well, the goals per match is up there, isn't it?
Hang on. He scores every 4.3 games in the Premier League, right?
25%, all right.
Right. So now you average that. Oh, that's over his career in the Premier League. Now you average that over a season. That's not a good goal scorer, right? Richarlison. Anyone want to know what his goals per game ratio is?
Probably identical.
It's going to be a bit higher because he scored a lot of goals at Watford and Everton. Well, a lot. He scored 30.
I would have thought it's higher. He's played in the Premier League more because you're only doing Premier League, so he's played in the Premier League more.
That's not how averages work. That's not
based
how
on appearances is a ratio.
It's based on appearances versus goals, right? His is 3.8. So all these people that tell me he's much better than, what's he better at? What is this guy better at? Because look, I'm going to show you this as well. By the way, so this is every 4.2 games or 4.4 games, this guy scores a goal. He's only scored
which one have you got up? If you got up at the moment,
Solanke.
That's Solanke's, yeah.
I'm going to bring up Richarlison versus Solanke in a minute. But this notion that we don't play to his strengths and we don't get crosses into his head, he's only scored 6 in his career with his head. So that can't be his strong point.
Is that his entire career or just the Premier League?
This is Premier League appearances. This is
what
he does in the Premier League. Right?
Now do it in the other leagues as well.
But we're not playing in the other league. But we're not playing.
But what I'm saying is, yeah, but then you're only judging a player through the Premier League. Now I get it. Yes. That's where it's most important. But if you go and look through the rest of his career, I'm asking a question. Where has he done it in the rest of his career? I'd actually like to know. It's a question.
I will go and have a look. But for
me, he did it in the Austrian league.
He
did it in the Austrian league, and he did it in the Championship. So it's fair to say many levels, or at least a significant level below Premier League.
I agree. So, but does that make it irrelevant now?
Yes, because
that's the level. That's the level.
In the Premier League, I agree. Said his strength. Bearing in mind, he's been in the Premier League for the last 2 years.
I agree.
Hang on. Let me finish talking, mate.
I agree.
In 2 seasons in the Premier League, he's averaged 3 goals a year with his head. So all of this, we've got to get into his head. Our wingers don't cross to his head. The facts again and stats don't back that up. Now have a look at this, right? Look at this. I'm told Dominic Solanke's much better than Richarlison. At what? What's he better at than Richarlison? Forget the clean sheets, the saves, and the yellow cards. I don't give a shit about all that. But what's he better at? His hold-up play is next to non-existent most of the time, right? The goals ratio, we've already said that Richarlison's is better than Solanke's. I can work out the assist ratios in a minute, but what's he better at? Why did we go and spend 55, 60 million pounds on a guy that is no better than the Pigeon?
We shouldn't have done it. But the question I was asking is if he isn't getting the crosses in there, I thought he'd scored more with his head in the Premier League. But if, like you just stated, the Championship is irrelevant, so everything a player does in the Championship is irrelevant then?
No, but I'm not judging.
You just stated it's irrelevant.
Sure. Okay. It's irrelevant to what we want. It's irrelevant to the argument of, well, Solanke's strengths and his goals for Bournemouth came from headers.
Mhm.
All I've heard from everyone on the panel for ages is, but when Bournemouth played, they had wingers that whipped balls into his head. The stats don't show that. The stats show that the headers are few and far between.
He is very good at yellow cards, Richie. No one's going to let me take that away from him. He's one of the best in the business at yellows.
That's a lot of tactical fouls, that.
There is a lot of tactical fouls. There's a lot of hacking, a little bit of elbowing, and he wins a lot of free kicks. Look, I'm not going to sit here and try and convince a whole crowd of people
I don't rate him.
who don't think Richie's got anything to him. I get it. It's like paddling upstream without a paddle in the hole in a canoe. I never understood why we signed Solanke, because he is no better than Richarlison. And what we needed was a different type of striker. But there again, it's the manager. This lot have given the manager what he wants. He's given you Brennan Johnson, Timo Werner twice, this guy, Solanke, and like, honestly and truthfully, right, look at the talent ID. Fucking clueless. Absolutely clueless.
I agree. I did not want him in any way, and I haven't rated him in any way. But I still don't fit. He's not a target man. End of in that aspect for me. So we've got to find out what he's better of. He's doing. So look at what he did before.
So back to the original question.
Can I finish
with the comments on the championship? If championship, how you play in the championship and the goals you get and everything is irrelevant, then Archie Gray is irrelevant.
Hang on. Can I finish my stats before we bring in Archie Gray, who's nothing to do with this? Can I just finish on my stats, right? I've just looked at again, this is the problem. When people say things like, again, Matty K, again, at what? If you actually look at the averages of goals they've scored in the Premier League with their head, Richie's is superior.
Can we see it?
To Solanke's, yeah. I'll bring it up in 1 second, right?
Can I say this is
And I've just looked at their assists in the Premier League as well, by the way. Both of them, an assist every 9.8 games. So my whole notion here, by the way, guys, please, isn't Richie, we must do everything to get Richarlison in the team. But my notion is all these people that have said, well, Solanke's much better than Richarlison. He's actually factually not better than him in the air, not better goal scoring, not better with assists. What's he better at than Richarlison is my question.
Nothing.
There you go. He's not.
Guys, do you know what it is?
Anything.
Do you know what it is? Solanke's got technically he's a better on the ball than Richarlison. Solanke works very, very hard at pressing up front, and you could say he probably links up the play a bit better. Because of that, people, I think, subconsciously assume that he's better than Richarlison. But when you break down the actual role of a striker who's primarily aiming to score goals, and if you're not scoring goals, at least create, Richarlison is better. If we go by that metric. And that's why you have a striker. Otherwise, you don't need a striker. Just get another midfielder, another winger. Yeah. So as a striker, Richarlison has proven to be better. With regards to judging players from the Championship, I think you've got to look at the age. Solanke came in as the experienced player, someone that's going to have an immediate impact. The Grays, the Richarlisons, the Phillips, they came in as players we're going to develop because we think they've got the potential to be good players in the future. So I don't think we can compare Championship players other than looking at the age as well, because Solanke was our only experienced player we signed in the summer. So we've got to judge him as a player that's going to come in and have an immediate impact, and he hasn't. He hasn't done it.
Can I just let you know, just quickly, to answer Johnny's point that he just asked? So the percentage of their goals with their head in the Premier League, right? Dominic Solanke's 16.6% of his goals are with his head. Richarlison's are 25.8. So again, I feel like people can. Now we've moved on to pressing.
Sorry, can I just nip in here, right? And I suppose I'm biased. I'm biased about Richie, but having watched Richie's career, right, Matty, with the greatest respect, you really do not know what you're talking about, and I totally understand the disrespect and the hate for Richie at the club. I get it totally, and it's deserved. But he is a better player all round than Solanke. I'm sorry, I'm not even having it. Okay, Solanke would never ever play for Brazil ever, right? Never.
And nor should Richarlison. It's just they've got so much crap in that team now up front. They've got the option.
Okay.
How low is the bar? How low is the bar at Spurs right now that we're arguing over Richarlison and Solanke? How low are the levels
Still,
at Spurs
how many
right
of
now?
these wanted Solanke? How many of these throughout the injuries?
Not me.
All I heard was we miss Solanke. Do we?
Klinsmann, Sheringham, Defoe, Berbatov, Lineker, Kane, Son in his prime. We're now talking about Richarlison and Solanke.
No, we're not. Listen, Stel. We're talking about a fucking clueless clown who, along with Lange and Munn, managed to sell us this dream of paying £65 million. £65 million for this player who doesn't hold a candle to Gyökeres. I could list you 5 strikers for the same money or a tad more that we would have got more out of, that would have added another dimension to this team. And I'll tell you something, I'd have rather have kept Richarlison and bought Eze or a couple of other players, than this guy.
I agree.
Matheus Cunha last season. Did anyone see Matheus Cunha, the tail end of last season, how good he was, right? You could have made a bid for him. We're buying Johnson instead of Buemo. We're buying all the wrong players. Our talent ID over the last 3 windows, apart from Mickey van der Ven and Vicario, which was the tail end of Don Fabio, has been shit. And until this guy goes, it's going to continue.
Johnny, we signed Kinski. He wasn't even on the bench last night.
Why did we sign Kinski when we've got Kulu? Keeley,
Whiteman and
we got Keeley, mate. Who's
Austin?
You're right. Why do we keep buying? And it's a point I always make. Why do we keep buying kids when we blatantly need players to improve that 11 straight away? It's another one that I just can't get my head around.
10 million on a goalie that's not even on the bench.
Listen, look,
and probably never will see it unless Vicario's injured. Just saying, all the other young players.
Matthias Tell could go on and become a great player, whatever, right? We do not need to spend £50 million right now on a player that's going to block the path of more. We could spend £50 million on a 6 or on a midfielder or something we need. I mean, we all know what we need. It's just this recruitment team haven't got a freaking clue.
I mean, Johnny, do you think? I haven't actually asked you this one, but I've asked the others. Do you think that instead of getting Tellin, a young player who looks like he's got potential but haven't really seen nothing of him, do you think we should have actually gone for someone who's maybe 29, 30, 31, 32, who's actually got out and out experience on that pitch, who could actually possibly get that team together a bit more with just his experience? That sort of player. That's what I'm on about. Like a Perisic player, just get him in loan for 6 months. Someone with a bit of stability, someone with a bit of experience, instead of going and buying or renting, whatever way put another bloody kid.
Listen, for me, I think there was enough talent out there. I mean, I'm a football whore. I can't watch enough of it. And I basically, if you look around, there's so much talent out there that you could have done better with I mean, just look at the makeup. You did not need to be a sports or football analyst to look at Dom Solanke and think, how the hell is he going to fit in to Ange's system?
Exactly.
Right? I don't get it. I don't get it.
I agree.
Johnny, there's no setup at the club. Johnny, there's no setup at the club in place for the football. You got a chairman that knows nothing. Because he knows nothing, he brings money in. Money brings Ange in. The whole thing's a mess.
Yeah, I mean,
top to bottom, it's all a mess.
Spurs being a mess is in this box over here. That should have no bearing on whether we go out and buy the likes of Tell or Solanke. Right, Spurs being a mess on the pitch, right, doesn't mean you go, oh, let's buy Solanke for 6. I mean, I hear different numbers. It was definitely over 55, right? If I'm right.
It was 55 climbing, right? So
Right,
it's
55 climbing, right?
But
So
they have look at Bournemouth. They have sold their number one striker. They look really diminished since he's left. They brought in Evan Nilsson. They brought in Hoyson, right? They've been Sinestra. I mean, look, it's laughable. It's absolutely laughable.
Did we buy him more on the side of that he's English? Do you reckon that had a lot to do with it?
No, we signed him because the wages are low.
Don't you reckon the other bit had anything to do with it?
It's all about wages at Spurs. It's all about wages at Spurs, isn't it?
But we did need to get
wage bill
in. But we did need to get in the English players as well, didn't we? Because we were severely lacking.
It was a club that was easy to go and buy from, if we're going to be honest, right? It was an English player, 2 ticks, and we bought him off the back of one good season. Yeah? Let's be fair. Bournemouth do not miss Dominic Solanke in any way, shape, or form.
And
like,
his wages
they don't miss him. And fourth. Yeah, sorry, still fourth. And the wages are cheap. But you're telling, if anyone's telling me on this panel that across the whole of, I'd say Europe, world football, we couldn't have gone and found somebody of, let's just, I'm going to put the bar really low, at Solanke's level for 10 to 15 million from the French league or the Russian league or the German. You look at people like Dovbyk moving for like 25 million pounds. Sorloth. These aren't even great players, but they were moving for 20, 25 million quid. We went and whacked 55 climbing on Dominic Solanke. Like, and fans lapped this shit up. Fans lap it up. Oh, but he's not getting service. Well, hang on. Why is Brennan Johnson scoring goals? If we don't create, why is Brennan Johnson scoring? Why did we have 3 or 4 really good headers from corners last night if we can't cross a ball? Can't we just call it for what it is? When can we just
Savva, the last action of the game was that Van der Ven miss. That should have been Solanke on the end of that. It's Solanke that should have been attacking that ball. If Kane was on the pitch, if Sheringham was on the pitch, they would have been the one attacking that ball. Solanke not attacking it.
He went off in the 88th still, right? Because the manager couldn't work out. I mean,
that's a good point. He wasn't on the pitch. He shouldn't have been attacking.
But the funny thing was, I'm not going to go into details, but Richie thought he was coming on long before, and he was like warming up after 60 minutes. He was prowling that touchline like he was a leopard or a lion waiting for the kill. And like by the time he got on at the 88th minute, I thought he would worn himself out with excitement. It's pathetic. It's pathetic.
The only thing I could give what I've seen off Richarlison, basically, well, he runs around the pitch and he puts his effort into it. One thing you could say with Richarlison, you will always get 100% effort. Whether anything comes out of it, that's a whole different kettle of fish. But
if you put me on the pitch, you get 100% effort. I'll tell you that.
Where some players you don't necessarily get that. But one thing I do think he's good at when he gets in the box. He's good at winding up the 2 centre backs. He's good at taking them off their eye, if you get what I'm saying. And that's one of the only things I've actually seen him be good at. Basically, he's good at causing a bit of hassle with the 2 defenders. He winds them up. Now, you got to score the goals and everything as well. I get that. But I'm just saying 2 things that I've seen him all right at. And I just really don't rate him in any way. Same as I don't with Solanke. I think they are 2 of the most dog shit players we've ever bought.
Dan, I think the sort of thing you were talking about with Richie was when he came on after 65 minutes at Anfield. Do you remember last season, Johnny? When we were
Arsenal.
4-0 down. 4-0 down. We scored 2 very quick goals. And all of a sudden, Liverpool were, the back 4 was all over the place. We didn't manage to capitalise. I mean, we could have been 8 down after an hour, but he brought Richie on, and all of a sudden, the whole thing changed, didn't it?
Correct. He causes havoc. He creates.
Yeah, that's what I'm basically saying. He causes a bit of trouble there. He just gets on people's nerves. He gets defenders looking the other way, and that don't win you games.
Yes,
you know what the problem is, right? Here's what I was going to say a while ago. You know what the problem is? Like, we have strikers where if you take either Solanke or Richarlison, I would say more Richarlison. If you take either of them and you put them in a team like Liverpool, or you put them in a team like Arsenal, I'm sure they provide. I'm sure Solanke could get 15 in a Liverpool team. I'm sure you get 15 in an Arsenal team. But here's the problem, right? Solanke will never be a standout performer. Never. It won't happen. He will never be the guy who'll be like, oh, thank God he was performing today. If everyone's shit, Solanke's going to be shit. If everyone's amazing, Solanke might end up being pretty good because, like, the Brentford game, I think way earlier, the Aston Villa game, we had a very good team performance. And those are the games I remember, like, yeah, Solanke was good that game. But that's because Madison was pulling the strings. Son had a game where he wasn't dog shit. We had other players performing, and you put then he can excel and look somewhat capable. But we'll never have a game where with Madison, like you said, or Kulusevski. These are players who can actually take the game, and you're like, oh, Kulusevski, he can hold his head up high. When have we ever said, oh, Solanke was the one player today who was just the good one?
Yeah, but Aaron, we could use that. You could use that sentiment for any striker in world football. Put them into Liverpool. But hang on.
No. Oh, yeah. Sorry,
put them into Liverpool. Put them into City. The problem is there's been many players that sentiment has been tried and tested, and it doesn't work.
Don Solanke was at Liverpool.
Solanke was at Liverpool. Solanke was at Chelsea. Yeah,
he scored a goal.
But
he scored a goal at Liverpool.
You know, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, sometimes it's okay to say a player just isn't that great. Solanke's an honest pro. I've got no problem with. He seems like a good guy. He's an honest pro. He works hard. But how often now do we have to see the ball bouncing off him? That's not tactics.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying, yeah.
I know, but if you've got a good first touch, you've got a good first touch, right?
Right.
Let's be fair. If Berbatov played in this tactics, yeah, would his first touch suddenly escape him? No, he's got a first touch, and there's too many excuses now for all of these people. He's 27. He was £55 million. He's had a shocker of a season. To be fair, I think he's had a shocking career. If I'm honest, I think he's had a
I agree.
When you look at Chris Wood, right, who apparently plays for one of the most pragmatic managers in football at Nottingham Forest, scored 18 goals.
Miraculous.
Agreed. And look, even when he was at Burnley, he still managed to get himself into double figures.
And he's not a technical genius. What he is, he has a football brain. And as Stel mentioned before, he knows when to make the run. He knows when to be in the box. It's intuitive. He knows where to be. You know, Gary Lineker didn't set the world on fire, scoring from outside the box and doing magical stuff. But he always knew when to be arriving in the box and putting the ball in the back of the onion bag.
But how many games did we not score in or lose? And I would say a majority of what I see on other channels and on the chat it's because Solanke wasn't on the pitch.
How many times? Yeah, so how many times are we like, if Solanke finished that?
And I ain't saying I agree with that, and that is me, but so many times I saw, but we ain't got Solanke. When he comes back, we're going to absolutely wipe the floor with it.
Those fans are a problem, Dan. Those fans are a massive problem, and I've called them all out because what they did was they jumped on the Ange bandwagon, and Spurs could do no wrong. We're not going to sign any bad players. Every player that's coming through the door is brilliant, or they're generational, or they're going to be excellent. Ange knows what he's doing. Don't tell a coach how to coach. Ange has got pedigree. Look what he did all over the world. And Lange is proven at Villa and this and that. And everyone just fed the PR machine. And even Levy was there. We've got our Tottenham back. He lied. Lange lied. Ange lied. These players lie. The whole thing, everyone jumped on the bandwagon because they wanted to be positive. They wanted to be optimistic. But that's fine. Be positive. Be optimistic. Absolutely. But you've got to be realistic with it. You can't just say a player's really good because I'm being positive. You've got to back it up. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're being misleading, and that's fake positivity. And because it's all unraveled, all these people that made videos like Mateus tell how he fixes the Spurs attack, Odebert suits the system perfectly, Solanke is exactly what we need with these thumbnails with the arrow pointing to a circle in the penalty box, and this is why Solanke's... The whole thing was a con. Everyone conned everyone. And it's all because they wanted to jump on something that they thought would work. And when it unravels, rather than explain to us why you said all that, because it's clearly not making sense now, It's fans like us that challenged it, that said, hold on a minute, this manager's tactics don't work. Or hold on a second, why are we rating this player when he doesn't score goals and yet he's a striker? Or we don't have a number 6 at the club. Maybe we should have kept Højbjerg until we signed a proper 6.
100%.
Or how's about
100%.
Archie Gray, who we signed? Why isn't he playing as the 6? So we know whether or not he can do it or not. And all these conversations weren't allowed. These conversations weren't allowed because if you had these conversations, guys, you were called poison, toxic, or a Chelsea fan. Well, now look, everyone's having this conversation, which is what we started about 10 months ago.
Why are we spending 50 million on a player, Matthias Tell, who's played 20 up until the weekend when he was
insane. It's insane.
22 games. 22 games, 980 minutes. He scored 1 goal. And that 1 goal was that tapping at the end of the cup game. 22 games. That's the Bundesliga, the Bundescup, right? Crappy other games, right? 1 goal. And we're calling him the Messiah. Give me a break, right? He shouldn't be the club.
I agree. There's nothing wrong with being positive, yeah? There's nothing wrong with having a bit of hope.
You don't support your club if you say that. You don't support Spurs.
Yeah, but if you've got no hope in life, you ain't... There's nothing wrong with a bit of hope and a bit of positivity. But for me, it's about realism. And if we're going to be realistic...
Yeah.
If you're going to be realistic, there's a lot more negative things in life than there is positive. It's just the positive ones are that good that when they happen, they totally outweigh the negative.
Just want them
and I feel I think it's pretty much the same with the football. And when you're being realistic about Spurs at the moment, or what we have been over 15 years even, there's so much more negative there to put than there is positive, because the only positives we can really come up with is 1 cup, or you can say 4 in 40 years, and you can be positive about some of the players we've had. But you cannot be positive at Spurs being realistic about what we've achieved.
Can I just say, I've been a fan.
Can I just say, just quickly on Stell's point, that the only thing I think that rivals how bad is what you just said. And I can't stand all that. So-and-so fixes this. This is that. This is that. Then when they do badly, it's all on Ange. Like, you know, they've changed their minds. What I find worse than that is how we elevate players when they're missing. Right? Oh, yeah. When players are missing, we elevate them to godlike status. If so-and-so is playing, I've heard it for months and months and months. From Aaron van der Ven playing, we don't make these mistakes. Yes, we do. If Solanke's playing, we score that. No, we don't. If Madison was back, we do this. No, we don't. When Odegaard's back fit, we finally got a winger that does. No, we haven't. When Porro and Udogie are both at fullback, we're not. This is what we do. We see the players with our eyes. We see the players with the stats, right? We see what they are and the level they're at. But then when one of them gets injured, we go, now that player's out injured. This is all falling apart. When they come back, but the injury knocked them out. No, it didn't. Injuries will affect every player differently, right? Some it will knock them out from when they come back. Some will come back firing. None of ours come back firing. None of ours have come back in good form. You know why? Because it's the bloody tactics. Now, quickly, just before we move on, right? Can I read you out some Premier League strikers, goals to games ratios, please, to hammer home my point about how shit Solanke is.
It's going to be like Havertz 0.4 or something.
Right? Listen to this. This is their whole careers, right? This is their careers in the Premier League. I'm not even going to the Erling Haalands. I'm not doing that nonsense, right? Richarlison's goals percentage in his career for the Premier League is 0.26.
Okay.
Mateta at Palace is 0.30. Calvert-Lewin.
Oh, God.
0.24. Munoz of Fulham, 0.30. So I think you'll agree, quite average strikers I'm putting out here, right?
Yeah.
Chris Wood is 0.34. Danny Ings was 0.30. Raul Jimenez is 0.30.
Jesus Christ.
Taiwo Awoniyi of Nottingham Forest is 0.24. Cunha, 0.36. Anthony Martial, 0.30.
That was on COVID, by the way.
Tony, 0.42. Guess who's lower than every single one of those strikers from their Premier League ratio?
Solanke.
Dominic Solanke at 0.86. 0.23 is worse than all of those very average, other than Cunha, I think is quality.
Top draw. But he's
And he was like
not-
0.36.
Can the main event make a point here? Can the main event make a point here? Because you just
Is it
inspired
relevant
me.
to what we're talking about, though?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Don't
sure?
worry, Savva. I'm a very clever guy. Don't worry about that. The point is, though, right? Who's persuaded Solanke to come to Tottenham, by the way?
Ange Postecoglou.
Oh, yeah. Who persuaded Madison to come to Tottenham, by the way?
Ange Postecoglou.
Who persuaded Tell to come to
Ange
Tottenham, by the way?
Hello there. Come down to Tottenham. We're going to win the title. I always win something in my second season.
Ange did not persuade Madison. That was his wife.
But the point I'm making is, Dan, right, is that who's not playing well at the moment? Who they complaining about right now? They're complaining about Solanke, Tell, Madison, right?
Everybody. What are you talking about?
All the
Everybody.
players that Ange
by the way.
Postecoglou had a little word with him and said, come to Tottenham.
FC Bayern.
And you see where I'm going with this?
Sorry.
So this is a fantastic manager that persuades players to come here, but look what they're doing right now for Tottenham Hotspur right now.
I don't really get what your point is.
Just in, by the way, some news. Apparently, FC.
It's quite simple, Ariane, what my point is. He's persuaded all these players to come here, saying that this is the right place to come here. But what has he done with these players? What has he done with these players?
Here's the thing, though. No, I'm not saying that the players are not playing. I'm saying everybody's shit. Why? Not just the ones he signed. Udogi's been shit this season. He didn't sign.
But the point I'm making is, everyone's making a big deal about these players, right? Solanke, Madison, Tell, and these are all the players that Ange Postecoglou has persuaded to come to Tottenham.
Sure. I mean, you're not wrong.
I'm sorry. I'm not doing this. I'm sorry. It's on the manager again. Again, maybe I'm repeating myself, but I'm sorry. It's on him. If he's that good, if he's persuading them, he's saying, well, I've got you, bruv. I've got you. It's not my bros at Spurs Kings TV. I know they've got me. I know they've got me.
Oh, hang on. We're about to have a 5-minute ashmatic loving.
No, not 5 minutes. No. I'm just giving you an example. I'm just doing the context. I'm just doing context. I know he got me.
Man. I don't have the time for this.
Yeah, they'll tell me. They say, you know what, Alex, I've got you because I believe in you. Yeah, and I go over there. They believe in me. What does Ange do? He gets Madison over here, false pretenses. He says, "Yeah, I believe in you." Do you see belief in him right now? I don't see belief.
Alex,
With a couple of what you said, Alex, he didn't bring Tell in. He didn't persuade Tell to come.
This has absolutely
Levy that had to go
about.
and told him to come in.
He called him. Alex, are you upset that Ange didn't give you a call? Listen, look, just in breaking news, right? Apparently, according to CF Bayern, barring any sudden changes, Tottenham are expected to send Matthias Tell back to FC Bayern in the summer.
Seriously?
Daniel Levy is unlikely to approve a £60 million outlay on a striker that's played only 10 games since February. What a shock. But failing to mention that we've just blown £10 million on a loan. That's £1 million a game. £1 million a game. And he hasn't even played a game. I don't think he's played. Has he ever played a full game?
Johnny, we should have got an older, established player who may be coming towards the off of his career, but had experience. Like a Llorente, like a Perisic.
Yeah.
Llorente would have, a younger, today's Llorente would have been perfect to be brought in.
Agreed.
And the other thing also is that Kinski's 12.5 million, Tell's 10 million. There's 22.5 million, which is a sizable amount to be put
towards.
And we go and waste money on kids when we should be buying players that should be getting into that first 11.
How much we spent on Danzo?
Danzo's a decent buy.
Danzo hasn't been bad.
Danzo's okay.
No, you know what?
How much did we spend on him? How much did we spend on Danzo?
21. About 20.
Yeah, we spent not much on him, yeah.
I don't think he's that bad for what you got there.
I think he's so. You know what the problem with Danzo is? I think in his first 2 games, he made literally 2 errors. There was one game where he literally just fumbled the ball in front of the net, and they scored. I think it was the Ipswich game, maybe it was, and it was an error leading to goal. That's literally plain and simple what it was. And people were like, "Oh, besides the error leading to goal, he was really good." It's like he's a fucking defender.
Arian, you're not
besides the
throwing
air?
at Anfield for heaven's sake.
Huh?
Got chucked
No,
in
I wasn't talking about Anfield though.
But Arian, you say that. Okay, I'll make you right with that. Yeah, I don't think he's been a bad buy.
He's been okay. He's been okay.
That's what I just said.
I'm saying a lot. No,
who's made more cock-ups? Who's severely made more cock-ups and looked like a not world-class player?
If the question's
Romero or Danzo? Right. So who would you have on that pitch then? Danzo or Romero?
I would rather this season. Romero. I've been so pissed off with Romero, I know he's gone. I will not miss Romero at all this season.
Well,
fair point.
Well, as a footballer, all I know is that this manager spent ages convincing us and trying to convince this said player, Matthias Tell, to come, and he was the next Messiah, the next great kid, bigging him up, and he's played him 10 times.
Here's the thing.
Well, we all know that the only player that we wanted was Kolo Muani, and we were never, ever going to get Kolo Muani. Just the same as we weren't going to get Desiree Dewey, just the same as all the other players that we've been linked with.
When we got Tell,
we go second division.
When we got Tell, I went on Twitter, and I was like, look, I'm sure he's talented, but literally what I said was, is he actually even better than Danny Welbeck? I was being generous when I asked
Or Mikey Moore. Is he better than Mikey Moore?
I don't think he's better than. I just literally said, is he better than Danny Welbeck? Like, this is a lot of money. And I've seen a little bit of Bayern. This kid's okay. He's never got me off my seat. Dude, when I had replies on replies on replies on quote tweets on quote tweets as if I've just asked if this kid is like. People were saying, you're ridiculous. Of course he's so much better than Danny Welbeck. He's going to be the best attacker we have on our team. He's been fucking shit.
Mate,
he's not done anything.
Because our fan base are lunatics, mate. Listen, guys, I've got to go. Dan, Johnny, Ian, Ariane, Savva, box office. You have a good weekend. Whatever you got planned. Hopefully, we beat Wolves. I'm not holding my breath.
Enjoy it.
And I'll leave you with this, guys. Before I go, I'll leave you with this. No matter how shit we are, no matter how bad it is at Spurs, no matter how terrible it will continue to get, we are always and we will always be the kings of North London in Europe, because we are more successful in Europe than Arsenal, and they hate to hear the facts. Have a good weekend, everyone. Up the Spurs.
With what you said, Arian, it's true. I stated it. Stel said it. Savva said it. Alex, Johnny, you probably said it. Ian, like, why, oh why, with the situation we was in, do we go and get another bloody kid who is not even established as a bloody player yet, like we have done with about 4 others, and only one of them
even better than
is actually
like forget Mikey,
and only one of them out of the 4 kids we got is actually looking like he's going to come good.
The thing is, everybody here knows me enough to know this is not normally like how I am. I'm normally one of the people who's trying to sing as many praises as I can find. Like, the thing is, I've been a fan since what year? 2018 or 2019. Okay, so not for that long. And the part about that sucks is I didn't even get to see like Pochettino really. I've only seen us be terrible, like absolutely horrible.
That's why you deserve a medal, Aaron.
Right? So why'd you pick Tottenham?
The reason I picked the story behind it is when I was playing and I was a kid, my coach that season, like the season I became a Spurs fan, would call me Harry Kane. That's how it started. He wasn't even a Spurs fan. He was a Chelsea fan, and the World Cup was going on. Okay? So that's how it started. And then I picked it, and then the rest is history. But like, and I think what's happened is I'm just like begging for this team to be good, right? Because that's football. And I'm broken now, dude. I'm broken. Every single thing that I thought was going to work. Everything that I thought was going to work. We brought in Mourinho. I'm thinking, we have Mourinho. This guy's a legend. He knows everything. That goes to shit. We bring in Conté. I'm thinking Conté, everywhere he goes, he's won a league title. This has to be a guaranteed trophy.
Nuno.
Goes to shit.
You didn't give any credit to Nuno there. You sort of left him out.
I didn't even mind the Nuno appointment. Then 10 games in, I think everybody was depressed. I was depressed.
None of the others got backed up. whereas
No one
Ange
got
has
and
been
then
backed up.
Ange, yeah, I do think Conte was back, to be fair, but also Ange, he's been
Really?
back. I do. I
With
really
what?
think he was.
With what? Longley.
I think he wanted Longley. He wanted Longley. The thing is, people are saying he
I-
didn't
I,
want.
lo-
Longley.
I
He
love
wanted.
how we go back to
No.
old times again. I
Look,
love
here's
it
the
how.
thing. Here's the thing. It doesn't
Look,
matter.
I've
It doesn't
followed
matter.
Conte long enough,
right?
mate. He would not have wanted Longley. He don't suit Conte's system.
I
Never.
mean, if you're gonna
can't
say,
believe
look,
that.
no, Conte does buy these questionable players all the time, and then sometimes it works to his credit. That's the thing.
Not
Like,
in
that's
defense.
what makes it. That's what
Not
makes
as
him actually.
defenders.
Yeah, even
Not
as
as
defenders.
defenders.
Even as defenders.
No, he
yeah.
don't.
He
No,
does.
I followed him a long time. And when
Poch
he done it
wasn't
at
back.
Inter,
Conte
Fine, look.
wasn't backed. Mourinho wasn't backed. Nuno wasn't backed.
The thing, yeah,
The
nobody
only
was backed.
one they backed is this clown.
Ange has been backed. Ange has been backed from in every single way. People are saying, could we have done better? I'm sure we could have done better. Yeah, we just talked about how Solanke wasn't a good sign. Yeah, we could, but you compare what Ange got to what like Mourinho got. It's worlds apart. It's not even.
I
in the
love
same
how we're going
stratosphere.
back to old times. I love how we're going back to old times again.
because that's what you do, Alex. You compare.
This-
You can
this
only
is
Because
the
compare
point.
to the
old
past.
times
The point
again,
I'm
it's just
making-
like no. I get where you're coming from, but it's just like
What am I?
it's-
No, because you're not the. I'm talking about myself, Alex. It's 5 a.m. My brain's gone, and I'm talking about my whole. I'm saying I'm broken. I'm done. Like everybody at some
Well,
point.
welcome
I'm
to the
coming
club,
here.
Rob.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
You keep interrupting me. That's what I'm getting to. All right. Point is, I've come here and I'm always saying this, that, and the other. This is gonna work. He's gonna come back. He's gonna do this. These tactics are not right. Like I've reached a point. I'm thinking, why are these people constantly saying this doesn't work? I feel like this is why, bro. I'm there. It took me
Like I
6
said,
years, 7 years, and I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it.
welcome to the club.
Sick of it.
Have to go, Alex. It's good to see you. Dan, great to see you. Lubo, see you later. Arian, nice streaming with you. And Savva, I hope when you get off the bog, you've wiped and washed your hands, and I'll speak to you another time. Oh, there he is. I thought he was having a dump. He's actually making lunch. Savva, thanks for having me on, mate, and I'll speak to you soon, buddy.
Breakfast.
Right,
Thanks, Johnny.
Take
Cheers,
care.
mate.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. Arian.
Arian, if you're going to be a Tottenham fan, you've got to remember it's character building.
Exactly.
And it goes on your entire life, believe me.
The whole time.
Mate. You've got to be part of the project.
Absolutely. And it's a very long project, let me tell you.
You got to have a hard. You've got to have a hard, stern head. Stern head. It's the reason why I'm very strong in my opinions, and I'm normally always right. Unfortunately,
Alex, do I
Since
ever
Paul.
come in here not hard-headed about what my opinions are? I'm just wrong all the time. That's the difference.
huh?
Do you know what, Aaron? Fair play, mate. Fair play to you. To be able to stand there and say that, fair play.
I was
Just
wrong.
quickly, guys. Can we talk about Brennan Johnson?
Can we not?
This guy is such a confusing footballer. Like he has got zero about him when he's on the football, hasn't he? He's got zero about him when he's on the football, but has this knack of ghosting into the box and scoring goals. The problem with that is when he's not doing that, like yesterday, we might as well be playing with 10 men. What is the solution here? Or am I wrong? And I'm underplaying
It's
how
easy,
good a
Savva.
footballer he is.
Dan, do you want to say it? Ian, do you want to say it?
Which player did you say there, Sav? Sav, which player did you say?
Johnson.
I thought we played with 9. I thought we were playing with 9 men yesterday.
Exactly. And this is what I've said about Johnson. When it comes to tapping it in the side of the net, I mean, whether you tap the ball in or whether you bang it from 40 yards out or whatever, yeah, one looks better than the other, but a goal's a goal at the end of the day, and a goal wins you a game. And he has been our best player at getting goals, at scoring the goal. But apart from that, I've said it for so long, there's just nothing to him. But if we need to go and buy players that do more on that pitch overall. Do you know what? We go and get a proper winger that can score 10 goals in a season, but also get significantly more assists and put it in. Johnson, I don't feel he would be totally bad at the moment because we're not going to replace everyone as someone you bring on with 20 minutes to go.
that's exactly what he is. Johnson is Matt Doherty is doing what look Johnson. What he does isn't that special. Matt Doherty did it at right back when he was at Wolves.
Hang on, Arian. Would you not play Johnson at centre forward?
I think he'd probably be better there, but I think in this specific system, like every forward is a center forward.
Could you not play him at centre forward?
You know what? You know. Again,
that's the whole point.
When I say Thomas Frank, I think he could do the thing Mbeumo does. I don't think he's as good as Mbeumo, but in the same kind of in the same role where he's kind of this wide forward who can come in and find the goals. And Mbeumo does the same thing. That's why I think we have a squad suited to that.
But we're talking about Solanke on 0.26, and we're talking about Richarlison on 0.3 or 0.28, and Johnson scored 16 goals this season. So chuck him in at centre forwards.
Well, Ian, we've been saying this for so long now. I mean, it was an interesting conversation I was having that I was hearing behind me in the stadium about Johnson. Oh, he don't do nothing, Johnson. He don't do nothing, Johnson. I like Johnson, I was thinking, oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, yeah, he should be up front. Oh, yeah. So why is that? Oh, yeah, because the manager doesn't adapt. Oh, I forgot that. What's he doing against Nottingham Forest? What was he doing at Nottingham Forest? Oh, yeah, he was up front, wasn't he?
That's what I'm about to ask. I've heard two different stories of Nottingham Forest supporters that say one has said he played up front, another has said he played a majority on the side. I don't actually know which one they played. I genuinely don't actually know.
Like, when the Heat was like at the right before we sold Kane, the whole thing was Kane and Bayern. There was a lot of reports that said we wanted Johnson for the center forward. I don't know if anyone remembers that. There was a lot.
He wanted him in Celtic. Ange wanted him at Celtic.
I'm sure that was too. I'm talking like when we were about to sell Kane, like a week before, a lot of reports said the center forward we have in mind to replace Harry Kane, which first of all, that's hilarious. Just the sentence is this: the person to replace Harry Kane is Brennan Johnson. That sentence is hilarious. But the point is, we actually wanted him as a center forward before we even got him as a fucking winger, which just goes to show how disorganized the recruitment process is. We want this player for center forward, and then we're like, you know what? We can get him for winger. Oh my god, it's a 2-in-1.
The other alternative is you push Porro forward onto the right hand side, and you look at the Porro crosses this season. He's putting one in for Richarlison, inch perfect. One in for Solanke. We hardly get the ball across. Kulu at Forest for Richie last year at the City Ground. I can't remember too many others. I
don't think that's ever going to happen, Ian, because the thing is, I've been saying that for so long now that he's our best crossover ball, right? And the fact, I think it summed it up when I think it was either Liverpool, I can't remember what it was. He brought on Spence, and he put on Spence more further forward than Porro. Yeah, so it told me everything I needed to know. Told me everything. Unfortunately, I'm 2 steps forward every single time. 2 steps forward every single time. This is the thing with this now. It's just annoying now.
If Spence played right back, we would give away far fewer goals on that side. Yeah, he is one of the best.
That's common sense, though, Ian. That's common sense. This manager's got no common sense. Like I said, I've just proved you the point.
No,
you know what I mean?
Who do you want, Alex? Like, if you sack Ange tomorrow, who do you bring in? I'm just curious. I've never heard it. I just want to know who's your choice.
I'll take what is his name? Oh gosh, my dream manager right now would be Eddie Howe. To be honest with you.
Oh, that's a good pick. Oh my God, Alex! Everything I've ever said about you that's bad, I take all of it back. I have been preaching Eddie Howe for dude. This not against. There's like a thing in like the big group chat I'm in that I talk football in. I've said Eddie Howe is an incredible manager for so long. I love him. I think he's a phenomenal manager. He's a great coach. He's so good.
I just want a coach. Like what?
He will look at the opposition. He will look at the occasion and he will say, this is what we need to do today to win. Ange looks at any opposition, completely negates it and says, we're just going to keep doing X because we don't have a Y or a Z. And you can see that from if you look at the Newcastle Arsenal games this year have shown everything about how brilliant Eddie Howe is. Yeah. He went at them. He attacked them. He got in behind them, got the goal lead. And then in the second half went, right, let me take off a forward player. Let me stick on right now, sit deep. Yeah. Double up in all areas. and Liverpool, Arsenal couldn't break it down. Spurs would never do that. I'm not saying for a whole game you have to defend.
Yeah, Fab, if we had Eddie Howe next Wednesday at Frankfurt, I would fancy us.
Absolutely. But Lubo, I make you right. What you were saying there, whether or not I care enough about Porro being right wing or whatever, I make you right though. Try some things. Like, try some different avenues. Like, wouldn't it be refreshing next week to see, okay, Porro is going to be on the right wing. Spence is going to be at right back. You know what? Now you're saying, right, Porro, whenever you get it, don't cut in. We want you whipping those balls in. Solanke, bust the gut. All I want you to do, Solanke, bust the gut, get in there, get your head on the ball. But it's the same thing. Out to the wingers, pass inside 5 yards. Out to the wingers, pass inside 5 yards. And for me, I just feel like as a top manager, you can't have one way of playing. You can't.
Yeah.
You've got to be
100%.
flexible.
You know,
the only player that was good, the only player that I saw something more creative, and do not get excited, Ian. Do not get excited, Ian. Bergvall. That was the only one.
I've got to tell you. He's playing well.
He's the only one. He's trying to put a switch to play. He did that shot, and he's the only one. The only one.
I wouldn't say he's playing well. I say he's playing.
No, he's not playing well. No, Dan, I'm not saying he's playing well, but yesterday.
You saw something on the end, didn't you?
Exactly.
After everything he'd done and that, you actually saw something which you don't usually see off him, and that's that final pass or even a shot on goal.
But Dan, he's improving, which is what you want from a kid. Game by game, he looks like he's improving.
Yesterday's the first time I've seen a different. I've seen something at the end of it, whereas before there was just never anything at the end of it. It run about with the ball, this and that.
Has actually been really impressive.
He took his goal nicely against Liverpool, didn't he? When we beat them at home in the League Cup semi-final.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't an incredible goal or anything, but he did take it nicely for sure. Yeah.
Let's be fair. From all of the young players that Ange has brought in over the last 2 years, he's the only one that I look at right now and go.
He's the only one also that we have to compete with a top club for. We beat Brentford to Archie Gray. We beat Barcelona to Bergvall.
Yeah, but when you're saying we beat Barcelona, I think you've got to be a bit skewed here.
No,
Let's be fair.
My point is Barcelona were in for him.
Yeah. Tottenham would have said, hey, you're going to get loads of game time. Barcelona would have said, yeah, you're going to go into Barcelona B and not play for about 2 to 3 years.
No, I know that. But my point is he's the only one that,
I agree, but my worry is you look at all the youngsters. You look at Kinski, you look at Gray, you look at Odeberg, you look at Tell. Bergvall's the one each week that you go, he's in the 11. When fit, he is in the 11. When fit at the moment, Moore was on the bench last night, guys, because we were allowed 11 subs for Europe. Let's be honest. I've been leaving him out. Archie Gray, I feel sorry. I'm at the stage. Sorry, Lobo, your guy. I feel sorry for Archie Gray now. He stepped in. Yeah. Whatever I think of him as a player, park that. He stepped in, saved Spurs because he could play in multiple positions. Yeah. And since everyone's come fit again, we all knew he's not even getting 20 minutes at the end of games.
But there's a reason for that, Savva. He's not good enough.
A new manager. He needs a new manager at the club.
Ian, he's not good enough to play us up. He is not better than any of our right backs. He is not better than any of our centre backs. He is not better than any of our centre mids. At this moment in time, what he done, you got to give credit because he doesn't really. It's not his position, and he got bigged up that big much more for it because he's young and it's not his position. He gave okay performances.
But how many times?
But they went up a level. The only one who's actually, I'd say, established himself nearly in midfield is Bergvall. Archie Gray is not good enough for that first 11.
How many times he doesn't do? Basuma has been kind of phased out, but also there was a lot of times where he's been in Basuma, and I think we all agree he's been fucking shambolic for a year and a half now. And also Sarr is Sarr really that much better than Gray? We haven't even seen Gray in midfield at all. How many times does he bring it? He needs to be bringing them in my opinion. And
but there has to be a reason to that. If Ange was,
we say that, but the same we saw it with Spence. Is there a reason?
Yeah, but hang on. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, there was something between him and Spence, but then Conte didn't like Spence either. Maybe Spence has just taken his chance and grown up.
There's been external things with Spence, but
that's what I'm saying. But we say Ange don't like playing youth players and whatever and that. He don't. But but he plays Bergvall. He's one of the first on his list. So if Archie Gray was that much better than Sarr, Bentancur, Basuma, why wouldn't he play Gray there as well? Because he plays Bergvall there. Because then saying that he don't use youth players is sort of contradicting itself. Because he actually does play the youth player that he thinks he's good. And we can see Bergvall, there's definitely potential there. And he's progressing slowly, but he's progressing. But I think Archie Gray has seen, 80 minutes if you add it all up in midfield. So for me, on my personal opinion, not that I rate this manager, he's not good enough to be a right back because we got better. He's not good enough to be a centre back because we got better. He's not good enough to be a centre mid because we got better. And they can all turn around, you especially, and say, yeah, but the manager's a dickhead, he's this, he's that. I agree. But he plays Bergvall.
The same thing Savva said. Is he not good enough to come in for 20 minutes?
Okay, hang on, but here's a question. Whatever any of you think about Archie Gray, next season, right? Should Archie Gray be sent on loan somewhere where he's going to get a full season playing central midfield? Now, I know, you can't dictate to the other club that they've got to play him every minute of the game, but you can say he's got to play 75% of games.
Contract.
For me, I think that is what's needed because let's be brutally honest. We're all sitting here and we all do this about Spurs. We're all sitting there going, we like Bergvall. There's something about him. Cool. Let's pop that to the side. Right. Madison or Kulu are going to play because you've got to have a creator in the free. And we're all sitting there going, we need to buy another midfielder. We need some experience. We need a number 6. We need whatever your terminology is. Everyone says we need a new centre midfield, right? So my point is, if you are going to go and buy that guy now, and this goes back to our point, Dan, from the beginning of why buy both, is if you're going to buy both Bergvall and Gray, if one of them's going to get minutes, the other one has got to be out on loan playing. Because at the moment... Okay, so Arian, if you disagree, tell me what good it is at the moment. Forget, again, I'm going to caveat this, forget that Gray played in defence because... Yeah. Unless we have another massive injury crisis in defence, he's not going to play there. Spence and Porro at right back, Spence and Udogie at left back, Danso, Dragoshin, Van der Ven, Romero, Phillips, Vuskovic. He's not going to play centre half. So let me ask you this, Arian. If we're playing one game a week next season, right?
Oh, you're right. It's one game a week.
What good is Archie Gray being at Spurs? How do we develop him?
As soon as you said one game a week, you sold me. I completely forgot.
Right.
I'll give you an answer for that, Sav. I'll give you an answer. You get a new manager who brings in, who plays a 6. Please. You bring in an established 6. That 6 cannot play every minute of every single game. So you've got Gray in there who will come in for him. Because the guy can't play every game, who will learn from him and will help bring him through. And that's how you bring Gray through next season.
So, Ian, let me now throw at that, right? And then Dan, I'll bring you in. I think you might be saying the same thing as me here. But this is assuming, right, that Bentancur, Basuma and Sarr are not at the football club. Because if Bentancur's at the football club next year, Bentancur's going to play games, a lot of games, because he's a senior pro that plays central midfield for Uruguay, right? You can't have Bentancur, Sarr, Gray, Bergvall, a brand new guy, Kulusevski, Madison. You can't have 7 of these players that fit into 3 for one game a week. Well, this is where, how do you do it?
And Savva, I totally agree. And if we get a 6 in there, who say, for instance, doesn't get injured or whatever, where's Archie Gray going to come in? And for me, even as how he looks and such, he's not a 6, what I would want just yet. I want my 6 to be an anchor man, basically, the way I would play. I need my number 6 to have aggression. I need my number 6 to have a bit of build where he can knock someone off the ball. Archie Gray looks like he'd get knocked all over the place as a 6, but that's only by looks. But again, it's back to the point again. We got the youth player. We should have gone and got 40 million on a player that is established to get straight into that first 11. Not some little kid that people talk about and think he's going to be brilliant or he's got potential, he's got this, he's got that. That is not what we needed at that time. Okay, he might come good over a couple of years. But if we go and get another manager who's got half a clue about football, is he really going to sit there and put Archie Gray in front of Bentancur, Sarr, Basuma, Kulusevski, Madison? No, he's not.
Definitely.
No, but he hasn't.
Do they? Because
he hasn't.
Players. But do you know what?
Yeah, but Kulu has played centre mid as well when he could have played Gray and he didn't. He's had Kulusevski and Madison on that pitch at the same time, and he still did not see him.
I have no confidence in this manager and his team selection.
By the way.
But who says the next manager is going to sit there and rub his hands and say, right, I've got Archie Gray. I don't have to play Basuma, Bentancur.
I'm saying Thomas Frank wanted him. Thomas Frank tried to sign him.
Yeah, but
maybe he didn't have better options there. He's got better options in our midfield.
Yeah, look, this for me all goes down to how many games a week we have next season.
Yeah, I agree. When you said 1 game a week, you're completely right.
If you are playing 1 game a week, you cannot have, and again, it's all loosely. If we want to put Kulu and Madison in the centre midfield bracket because they take the attacking role, right? So you've got 2 places left if one of those plays.
Yeah.
If you've got 2 places left and we're saying, well, Bergvall for me is going to play, right? And most people are saying, I tell you what, I will beat you up. Sorry. Anyone mind if I beat a puppy up live on stream? He's biting my toes, right?
Aww.
If we play
a Rottweiler,
right? If we play Bergvall in there, right, and you've got Sarr that's there as well. Who, don't forget, we signed Sarr up to like a 9-year contract or something like that, didn't we? Right? Then you've got Bentancur if he doesn't go. Right, then we're all talking about bringing in a new player. Like people are like, oh, get a Locatelli, get an Edison. I'm not saying we'll get them, but you know what I mean. The problem is 2 out of 5 doesn't go, and you're gonna have 2 or 3 centre mids that are going to be sitting there all season going, when do I play? And then before you know it, Archie Gray's been at Spurs 2 years, played a handful of games in central midfield, hasn't developed, not through his fault, hasn't developed because the club haven't developed him properly. Before you know it, he's a 21-year-old that we're going, he's okay. Because everything we heard about Gray, and I'm not knocking Gray, before anyone gets annoyed at me, I'm not knocking Gray. We all did this with Papa Sarr. Everyone did this with Papa Sarr. You watch this kid, he's going to be amazing. He's going to play in midfield. Now Papa Sarr can't get a game of football, right? So I think it's going to be a real delicate balance of if we're playing 1 game a week,
which
and then if we're playing 2 games a week. By the way, the only way in which we play 2 games a week is if we're playing Champions League. Now you've got the question of if we're playing Champions League, can you then bring in an Archie Gray into central midfield for Champions League? Is he good enough for that? I don't know is the answer because we've not seen
it. The other point of it is, you look at Bergvall and you look at Gray. I'd say they're different types of players, but you look at them. They are both built like young people. There is nothing of them. I am twice the size of either of them 2, and I ain't a big fella. Yeah. So, do you really want Bergvall and Gray in midfield who are going to get knocked all over the place like a straw?
Not very weak.
Are you going to want them in there? And the last thing I'll say, Alex, on it is the only player out of all of them that is not an established international player, again, is Archie Gray. Because that's all he's ever done, where he's a young player, is play in the Championship. And okay, well done. He's got some games in the Premiership for one reason and one reason only, because we had no right back, no centre back, and centre mid. He's just not good enough compared to the rest.
I'll make you right though, Dan. Yeah, right. We'll be having the same argument next year because we're going to be getting more youngsters in.
It's sad but true.
But we're just going to get more youngsters in because we know the whole structure that we do. You know what I mean? We know the process with us at the moment, especially with the wages. So we're going to have the same argument. I'm sick and tired of talking about Archie Gray now. I'm sick and tired of it.
The thing is, it always comes into it, Alex, because it's part of the problem as far as I was concerned. When you got an option of you can go and get Locatelli because he was meant to be going quite cheap. Okay, 110, 150 on his wages, bit high, whatever, but a very established, good player. Or do you want to go and see some kid out of out the Championship that's had a few good games for Leeds United, for God's sake? I know what I want on that pitch. For me, it's one or the other. We shouldn't have got both. Or even if we got both, I agree with what Ian says. We should have gone and got an established player. But this is Tottenham Hotspur. We don't do it. It's one or the other.
But to Ian's point about the manager, let's be fair. Archie Gray's had numerous chances this year. Sorry. I've forgotten his name. Ange Postecoglou. I can't believe I've forgotten his name. Ange Postecoglou has had numerous chances this year to give Gray a game in central midfield. And that ties in nicely with what I want to end the show with, right? Because I want to talk about the teams that we've actually had to play to get to this stage in the Europa League as to why I don't think it's been an impressive run. We've played Karabag, right? Why wasn't Archie Gray in centre midfield against them? We've played Ferencvaros. Why wasn't he in central midfield against them? We played Elfsborg at home. Why wasn't Archie Gray in central midfield against them? Southampton, the worst ever Premier League team at the weekend. Why wasn't Archie Gray in central midfield against them? This development, and again, forget what I think about the player. Forget my opinion of him from what I've seen. This manager has not helped progress Archie Gray in any way, shape or form. And all these people that say, oh, but he'll be learning from playing at centre-back and right-back. Sure, but if it then means the moment all those players are fit, he's not playing at all, what has that done for him?
Can I just ask about Adam Wharton? Can I say about Adam Wharton? Adam Wharton came from Blackburn. Was it Blackburn?
Yeah.
Blackburn. Yeah. And he went straight into Crystal Palace's team in midfield. Yeah, and he didn't play right back. He didn't play left back. Didn't play centre back to say that he was learning. He's still playing in midfield.
But then, kind of going back to what I just said earlier, like if we didn't hijack the deal with Brentford, he probably plays it week in, week out in that midfield because the Brentford.
Because it's
but they've got some good midfielders, Brentford.
But he's got more of a chance.
Besides, like
I think he'd have had more of a chance.
And he definitely has more of a chance. Like Damsgaard's obviously really good, and he's kind of playing on the. I mean, what Norgard, Janel, they're okay.
Whoa. Hang on. Norgard, Janel, these are good footballers, mate. These are good footballers that are above us in the Premier League table, mate. Well, you're saying
that's
they're
not hard.
Right.
That's not it's not difficult to be above us in the Premier League, is it?
But hang on, Arian. Now let's reverse engineer your comment, right?
Okay.
You can't on the right hand say, well, he'll get more chance at Brentford. But then when I say they're good players and they're above us in the league, but that's not difficult with Spurs.
I can for two reasons. I'll tell you, here are the two reasons. One of them is, first of all, Archie Gray hasn't even been playing in midfield, so it's not like Archie Gray's been putting the poor performances in. And number two, they've got a better manager.
Sure, but the thing is, you've got to remember again, this will be a Brentford team that are playing once a week that you could say that their midfielders are all right. I think their midfielders do a bloody good job, considering that what they paid for them, they do a bloody good job. Listen, this is the difficulty. When you sign an 18-year-old, when you sign a 17-year-old, when you sign a 19-year-old, this is the difficulty. It's that level of, do we buy them now before they're ready for the first team? Have we got enough minutes to give them to progress them into the first team? And see, how good are they? It's all well and good us as fans going, he's going to be this, he's going to be that. He could be crap in training. I'm not saying he is. He could be poor in training. Yeah. We don't know.
Do you know what?
Here's the thing.
Sam, we have played 11. We played 11 games in Europe this season. Yeah. The last 2 games, Gray's been on the bench. The first 9 he's played in the back 4.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I forgot. Never mind. Forget it.
So that's on the manager again.
Absolutely.
That's on the manager again.
100%.
This is the thing. This is why I'm so fed up on the manager. This is why I'm so fed up on the manager.
The reason I rate Frank so much, Savva, the reason I think Frank is the one who I would appoint if tomorrow you gave me and just like take your pick of the lot, I'm taking Frank, is because I sincerely think his squad is fucking terrible. I think it's terrible.
It's not.
I think it's it's not like League One level, but I really think if you give that exact 11, that exact squad, there's talent in there. Damsgaard, Wissa, and Buemo. Okay, obviously there's time. Even their keeper Flecken, I think he's a really good keeper, right? It's not a terrible, horrible, hopeless squad, but I think if you give that to most other managers in the league, I don't think they perform nearly as well as Thomas Frank has got them going. I don't even managers I rate. I don't think if you give it to Unai Emery, he does as well as Thomas Frank is doing.
Oh, hang on. Whoa.
That's not a dig at them. It's not a dig at Emery, and it's not a dig. No, hang on. Savva, you have to let me finish. You have to let me finish. This isn't a dig. This isn't a dig. My point is, I think Frank is that good of a coach that he's making this team look a lot better than it is. I think if you go name for name in that squad, I don't think anyone's that impressive. I don't think.
Basically, what you're saying is, quickly, just what he's saying is, I think I get where you're coming from here, and if I'm right on what you're saying, I agree with you. Go and stick Ange at that squad, they're relegated.
100%.
Yeah.
Not even a question. Not even a question.
Hang on. Dan, Ange, yes.
We've almost got relegated with this squad.
Unai Emery's.
I don't think Unai Emery gets relegated, but what are they right now? What place are they right now, Brentford? I think they're 11th.
Hang on. Sorry, I need this explained to me. Why would Unai Emery not be able to do with that squad what Thomas Frank is?
Because I think Thomas Frank is a better coach than Unai Emery.
I mean, listen, you're about to win worst opinion of the season. Sorry. Sorry,
but how many points are there? It's a 7-point difference, and I think you look.
You know what it is, guys. You know what it is? I'll tell you what it is.
My head hurts.
Emery's got backing from. They're both very good coaches. Emery has a history. I think he's won 4 UEFA Cups with Seville. He's more successful in terms of what? Sorry, is it 4?
He's won 4 in total. 3 with Sevilla, 1 with Villarreal.
Okay. Man in the final.
At the moment, you've got 2 very good managers getting the most out of their squads.
Now, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
Emery is getting more out of his squads because there is the money there and the backing that Thomas Frank will never get at Brentford, because they've got Villa are prepared. I don't know the ins and outs financially of Villa against Brentford, but what we're seeing is that Villa's directors are having a real go, and they're saying, right, there's 5 or 6 top clubs. We're going to push ourselves in there for the next few years, and we're going to give it our best shot. And they've stretched themselves regarding wages to revenue. You can see that. All the money that they're earning from this European trip, they are reinvesting in the team. They sold Douglas Luiz. They bought Onana to replace straight away. So they had someone. They obviously knew Luiz wanted out, and they had someone lined up as well.
Hang on.
We can make it correct.
Hang on. Let me have my soundness then, because
go ahead.
I'm not doubting that, but this isn't Emery versus Frank because of 1 year. Football wasn't started this season. Hang on. I've just sat and listened to you and then Lubo go through all this.
Go ahead.
Right.
You're right.
But we're doing this thing again where we massively disrespect top coaches that have been there, seen it, and done it. Right? We do this a hell of a lot, right? There's a reason Unai Emery has gone to Europa League finals with 3 different clubs. There's a reason Unai Emery was given the PSG job. There's a reason Unai Emery was given the Aston Villa job, right? This didn't happen by chance. This wasn't hang on, please. Can I let me right? This didn't happen by chance. This isn't fluke. Unai Emery worked his way up the coaching world, did bloody well wherever he went, won big tournaments, won 3 Europa Leagues back to back. Right? Now, by the way, Aaron, let me just put this out there. I've got nothing against Thomas Frank. If you drop Thomas Frank in Spurs right now, I'm happy. Yeah, I've said all along, I think what he does with that Brentford for the last 8, 9, I don't know how many years he's been there, brilliant. I think he's a fantastic coach.
Okay.
But when we're talking about Unai Emery, there's a reason that he's won European trophies. There's a reason he was given these big clubs. There's a reason why he's turned Aston Villa around from what they were to where they are now, right? We can't just say Frank's better because of this, that, the other.
That's a fair point.
Unai Emery's a top.
I'll say it like this. Right? Go ahead.
In defence of you, I'm sort of half with you on this one, yeah. Now, Unai Emery, I don't think he was the best example, yeah. But I think the point you're making is, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the point you're basically making is, let's go and take someone like Pep and see if he could do at Brentford what Thomas Frank's doing. Let's go and take someone like Klopp and see if he could do it at
I think Klopp
Spurs.
could, to be fair. I think Klopp
So,
could.
what I'm basically saying is most of these managers, every club they've been at, they've had it on the palm of their hand with money.
No.
Would
I don't
these
think
managers
Klopp's a fair comparison. I think Pep can make that with. I
How
don't think
naive
Klopp
are you
can
to
make
come
that
out with that
comparison.
absolute nonsensical
So I'm
statement?
asking a serious question. Can these managers that have always had money in their hand, there's definitely some that can, would they be able to handle it at a mid-table club with mediocre players
Like
without
Tottenham.
a pot to piss in? That's the only question I'm asking, because I've never seen any of them do it.
Yeah, but you're talking about Pep Guardiola is one of the greatest coaches of all time, and we're
And
sitting
look at every club he's been at. Barcelona, Bayern Munich.
Hang on, but Dan, you're showing your lack of understanding of his career path. This is why
I know his career path.
Right? This is very naive.
No.
Right?
Don't give me the naive crap, yeah? Everywhere he's been, Savva, he's had a shitload of money to go, and he's been at the best club in the league.
Sure, there's a reason why.
I'm not saying he's a bad manager.
Right? So, no, I'm not saying you said he's a bad manager, but he is widely regarded as the greatest coach out there for a reason. We think that he wouldn't be able to go to other clubs and upskill players. Yes, he wouldn't go to Brentford and win trebles, but we're saying he'd rock up at Brentford and him and his coaching staff on day one would go, oh my God, I don't know how to coach. Of course they would.
I know that, but would he do better at a less club? We haven't seen it.
Hang on, better than what?
Would he be able to?
Is the question.
It's just the question I always ask with the biggest managers I've ever seen that have never been at a small club and had to, at least with Ferguson, you could say he did it with Aberdeen, yeah?
Aberdeen was small.
Aberdeen
was a small club. Let's go. Let's get that straight.
No, but they weren't Celtic and Rangers at the time. Yeah. What I'm saying is all the big managers, yes, they get the big jobs for a reason. But when you only ever see managers at teams that are the biggest team in that league, yes, that is a very hard job they do. But I do wonder sometimes, would they handle?
Can we? I'm sorry, Gus. There's an argument that Pep actually underachieved at Barcelona.
No,
I'm sorry,
he did
Harry,
not.
and I take it back. I gave you the award of worst opinion of the season. This has got to be the worst thing I've ever read. Pep Guardiola made
At
Barcelona.
Bayern, you could actually argue that, I think. At Bayern, not at Barca.
Arguably the greatest team the world has ever seen. And you're saying he underachieved. He won 6 trophies in 1 year.
Yeah.
How on earth did he underachieve at Barcelona? Like,
he did not.
Dan, back to your point, right?
The question I'm asking on it is the established managers. Now, I'm not saying they go and get them relegated, nothing like that, like some idiots are saying on the side. I think some people just ain't getting the point I'm bringing across. I just wonder. That's all it is. I'm not saying he couldn't do it. I didn't say the words couldn't. I just do wonder if you do put some of these world-class managers that we've seen in a smaller club with nowhere near established players, without a pot to piss in, where they can't just go out and buy Mbappe, where they can't just go out and get pretty much what they want on the pitch, would they be as good with a smaller club and making it work?
Okay, can you clarify? I've asked you twice, you still haven't clarified.
There's the other side. Would Frank be able to go to a massive club and make it work? That's another question.
He's saying
I'm asking you to clarify your comment, and you still haven't. I've asked 3 times. When you're saying do as good as what?
As right now. So what he's saying is if you swap, because right now Man City are in 5th, right? And Brentford are 12th. If you swap them, do Man City go higher or lower, and do Brentford go higher or lower? That's what he's asking.
I'm basically saying, can they go to a young... When I say achieved, at someone like Brentford, you say achieved is finishing a place in the table, not winning a bloody cup. Same as when you say at Spurs, achieved is when you get top 4, not winning a cup. That's how low we've gone, yeah? That is where I just asked the questions of, can these massive managers go to a mid-table team? Have you seen him do it? Have you seen him do it?
Hang on. Well, hang on. Let me answer the question. Dan, he's the best coach in world football.
I don't deny that.
Right. Okay. But so by that metric, he's a better coach than Frank, who we're saying is a good coach and done well. Why would Pep not be able to go to Brentford and coach Brentford to what Frank has done? That doesn't make any sense.
It does. If you shoot me with a pellet gun, I laugh at you. If I put a shotgun at you, you're dead. Now, my point on that is...
That's got nothing to do with what we're talking about, for sure.
No, my point of it is that when you've got everything there, it's there. When you've got nothing, can you play with the cards you've got?
Tell me what happened.
It's just a question.
Sure. Okay, but I'm answering it. You've got the greatest coach in the world, undeniably. Everybody in the world of football circles,
I agree.
Pep's great. Pep's great. Pep's great. Every player, Pep did this for me. Pep did that for me. Pep signs players that people go, oh, he's shit. I remember Pep signed Sterling. Oh, Sterling don't do anything. Turned him into a prolific goal scorer.
Yeah.
John Stones. Look what he did with John Stones' career. When Nathan Ake went to Man City, right? Pep Guardiola, when he signed Rodri, everyone in this country was going, what a flop. This guy's terrible. Pep has turned Rodri into a Ballon d'Or winner.
Okay,
right?
maybe Pep was the wrong example, but as all I'm asking is, can these great managers that have always had the biggest clubs and the most amount of money,
Ancelotti did it.
The money, can they actually do it at the smaller clubs? That's all I'm asking, because we've never seen it.
The answer, do it. Like, first of all, it's the equivalent of saying, could Lionel Messi do it at Brentford? Well, we're never going to find out because they're too good for that level. There's half the issue, right? Is they're
with
too
Messi,
good for
definitely.
that level. Lionel Messi's never going to sign for Brentford because he was the greatest player in the world, right? At that time, right? Ronaldo's never going to sign for a Brentford to show what he could do. But it's this notion whether it's players or managers, that suddenly we drop these players into lesser clubs and suddenly they're not as good at what they do. Now, the team around them might not be, but I guarantee you, if you put Brentford for a year under Pep Guardiola, watch every single one of their players improve. Watch their style of football improve.
I would think so, because I know it's just as hard. Maybe I just used the wrong bloody manager then. I think it's just as hard at the top because you've got to get them. You've got to get them to do. You've got to get them to win it because you're at the top.
Worst opinion in the world, over and over. A ball carrier. You're calling Rodri a water carrier. What the f is going on? A water carrier.
It's rage bait. It's rage bait.
No.
Oh my God.
I mean, I get it. At the top, you've got to be able to perform. But when you're up there and you've got your Lionel Messi, Suarez, and the midfield they had, the defence they had, your job's slightly easier in the aspect of you've got it there on the plate, but you have to have the quality to control it. I get that. As all I'm asking a question, I'm not saying couldn't. I never said the word won't. I never said the word couldn't. I only asked the question: are these bigger managers? Could they go?
I think as with anything, Dan, it will take time. Yeah, I think it's how long are we going to give these people? How much money? Who are they bringing in? What's the metric of success for them? Right. But the thing is as well, when we talk about why these managers go to top clubs, we've never seen them at smaller clubs. The art of managing top players is so much more difficult than it is managing smaller players. The art of managing egos, the art of keeping them happy, the art of look at Pep. Like, I've never, not saying you, but like Pep Guardiola gets so much stick. There's a reason he did what he did at Barcelona that no manager had done that before at Barcelona, right? There's a reason Bayern Munich wanted him. There's a reason Man City wanted him to build them a dynasty. They didn't trust anybody else to do it. They wanted Pep Guardiola to do it because he is the best at what he does. Now, imagine you're at Man City for the last 4 or 5 years and you've got all those players that all want to play week in, week out. Right? Look at Spurs. We know the 11 each week. Right? We know the 11 each week. He's at Man City with people like Kevin De Bruyne, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, right? Mahrez down the years, right? David Silva, Aguero. We could go on and on and on. They can't all play. that skill of managing who plays this week when we're in 4 competitions, that skill of how am I going to balance this guy's ego against this guy's? And you know, the brilliant thing about Pep, he don't take shit. Yeah?
No.
You want to
I
leave?
think
See you later.
maybe I just used the wrong example there. I'll put my hands up on that one.
It's a good point. It's a good point. I just
The other point I can make, Jose Mourinho for me, personal opinion again, is the greatest manager there's been. That's my opinion, nothing more, nothing less. Yeah? People say I can't compare it to Alex Ferguson.
Because you did it at Porto.
People say I can't say he's better than Alex Ferguson. Well, in my opinion, I can. Mourinho. Because he went and done it in every single place and went to different places, done it. Yes, Ferguson got it working at Man U and then stayed there quite safely for 15 years, being able to get whatever he wanted and had it rocking, yeah? I respect Mourinho because he's been to literally every league and bloody done it, yeah? Same as Angelotti. I just look on things in a bit of a different way like that.
I agree with
you. Look at
Jose
Mourinho when Jose Mourinho came to us. He didn't.
I was going to say that earlier. I was going to say something.
He didn't get what he needed.
Yeah.
Conte didn't
but again, Dan, this is where I asked you and you didn't answer me. This is the thing. When you're saying Mourinho didn't do it at Spurs, didn't do what at Spurs?
Mourinho could not get Spurs into a top 4, which is what we was pretty much expected to, because he just didn't get the bloody players to do it. So if you're not getting the players to do what you want to do, whereas we're saying Ange has had the players, which still don't bloody perform. If you don't get the players you need to do it, then
two different things.
There's only so far you can go.
The question is, Sav, the question I think that should have been asked is, you wonder how far someone like Pep could take a team like Brentford.
Sure.
Without the resources that he had at City.
That's basically what I'm saying.
That's basically the question, isn't it? I mean, it's funny actually. Someone told me that had heard from Kyle Walker 2 weeks after he started training at Man City, and this is Kyle Walker that had Poch, that the training was on a different level completely, and the thoughts and the way they moved and the way they put their moves together and the way they put systems together was on a completely different level to anything he'd seen elsewhere.
But I mean, listen, I don't disagree. But listen, I completely agree with you, Lubo. I 100% agree with you. You watch any documentary about Pep Guardiola, everyone says, "Go and train with this man," and it's levels above anything else you've ever seen.
He's the most innovative coach of the last 20 years, no question.
He's also made the game.
Let me finish my point. Right, the point is right. The whole Jose didn't do it at Spurs point, though, again, is a moot point, because what was he expected to do with that absolute shit show of a squad that he had, right? Now, let's look at actually what he did do. And again, when people say he didn't do it at Spurs, over 18 months that he managed Tottenham Hotspur, or 19 months, only 3 managers in the Premier League got more points than Jose. Right.
I was never Jose out. Never.
Right. So in his time, he was the 4th best manager in the Premier League with that shitty Spurs squad. He got to a final with that shitty Spurs squad. Right. So when Jose comes in, it's the same with Conte. People go, he couldn't do it at Spurs. He was never meant to win.
By the way, Savva, he did that with an injured Kane and someone with a broken arm at some point too. Both of them.
But my point is this. But when we're saying these people couldn't do it at Spurs, do what? Conte's expectation at Chelsea is to win the league. Jose's expectation at these other clubs is to win the league. The expectation at Spurs, the fans can't differentiate between having a winning manager to do it and a winning squad. Yeah? You can bring in Pep, Jose, Conte, Ancelotti, Sir Alex. If you don't, they need X amount to win it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they've not done a good job because they don't win it.
And by the way, right? I was going to say this earlier. Like when you're saying we know the fucking 11 every single week, no matter if they play shit or if they play amazing. Do you remember how many times Mourinho would change it up? There was one game where he played Vinicius and Kane together. Like just he sees something doesn't work. He's immediately tackling. How the fuck do I fix this? How do I do this? And it was great. You would like, oh, he did this. Even if it didn't work, you'd be like, okay, he did something. At least he tried, right? But it's
Look
not
at
his
Jose
fault.
at Man United, Arian.
Oh yeah,
Jose went to a broken, terrible Man
Mm-hmm.
United and still won a European trophy and the League Cup. Now, it was broke. It was
He
still
did.
better than us, but Jose did that. Jose went to Roma and won their first ever European trophy, followed the next season by a European final. And still people go, busted. This guy's no good. Listen, these managers are the best in the world for a reason. For
Yeah,
a reason.
I agree.
Right? But would he do a better job than Frank at Brentford? Yeah, of course he bloody would. Jose and Pep Guardiola, of course they would.
I think Jose more than Pep, to be honest. In my
I must
opinion.
say,
But
I think Arian.
Jose's my goat. That's why.
Arian, I've got to tell you something.
I agree. Jose is the best manager there's ever been, in my opinion. Purely opinion. Nothing more, nothing
Listen,
less.
it is
Manager,
opinion.
maybe manager, coach. We
So-
can
Manager,
argue.
coach, whatever you want to call it.
Listen,
Well, no, they're two very different things. A manager and a coach.
I get where you're coming from.
They're two very different things. You can stick a man. See, Jose. This is what Jose was absolutely brilliant at. Jose
He's a
would go
brilliant
into a team that was ready to win but hadn't won. Right? He would go into Chelsea and he's like, "I am Jose Mourinho. You guys are brilliant. This is what we are going to do." And it was mentality. Right? Win. Right? Jose's not somebody that sticks around and builds a dynasty. Pep Guardiola, what he's done at two different clubs now, Bayern Munich was a shorter tenure. What he's done at two different clubs is stayed there for years and years and years and years, put an infrastructure in place, dominated European football, and won everything whilst bringing through players from the academy, plus signing people, plus getting rid of the older players. Because when he rocked up at Barcelona from the B team to the A team, the first thing he did was get rid of 4 or 5 senior players. People always forget this. He rocked up, and one of the first things he did, you can go. Deco, you can go. Van Bommel, you can go. You can go. You can go. I'm going to bring in this kid, this kid, this kid, this kid, and I'm going to build and I'm going to mend. Everyone talks like when Pep rocked up at Barcelona that they were dominating, that they were flying. There's a reason he got the job. They weren't doing well. He rocked up, and within a couple of years, he had them as the greatest team, arguably, that the world has ever seen.
I agree.
So coaching and managing are two
got-
very, very different things.
And he got,
It's
he got
just
the
a
job-
question.
He got the job based on a couple of things. Firstly, he did a great job with the B team at Barcelona,
Amazing.
and they learnt from they played the Cruyff way, and Cruyff played the Curver way, which is the most fantastic way of Dutch football. I've seen the training. My son had the Curver training when we were in Portugal, and a coach came down from Benfica just to teach the Curver way, and this evolved into Barcelona of that great team of 2008 to 2011. And I must tell you something, we were very fortunate. I loved it when we had Mourinho and Conté at the club because they were winners. And for me, we've got owners who don't have that same mentality. So you actually hope that they would be given the chance to teach the owners what it was like to have a winning mentality, and secondly, to have the opportunity to build something, even if it was short term, and win some trophies, and just get the club up and running. And all these fans that turn around and said, "Oh, it's boring football." Really?
Yeah, but hang on.
see-
I always bring this up with Conte. Before we talk about fans wanting him out, he himself for the last 6 months, I'm sorry, if ever a manager was saying in every press conference, I don't want to be here, it was that guy.
That's
right?
what turned me on him, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah.
He every press conference, he would sit there and be like, "Oh, the board this, the board that." Now, while that's great to hear because we hate Levy and co, you don't do that as a manager if you really want to keep your job. You don't.
You don't.
Hang on, Lubo. He was ill. You could see it. He didn't look healthy. He was ill. He was starting to spend time away, and his assistant had to take the job.
It just lost his best mate.
Yeah,
three friends, not one.
Yeah.
Three.
So
Three. Yeah.
So in the end, right, it wasn't right. Listen, it was never right for him to be at Tottenham Hotspur. That's what I said from day one, and I was.
That's why he rejected us to begin with the first time.
Right?
It wasn't
right.
It's
what
just
was
a
the point?
question.
Gone to Napoli, and Napoli have gone, what do you want? We knew
That's
Levy
what-
wasn't going to do that. So I said, what's the point? What's the point?
It's just a question that I always ask and a question that I always wonder. Yeah, it's nothing more. It's nothing more than like what someone said on here, a hypothetical question. That's all it is. I have not once
they're
said
good debates.
could not. And I do just wonder at times. I mean, Jose, he's proven he can go to the smaller club with lack of money and still win. Conte, what he did was not show off a bloody miracle of getting us 4th place. Okay, didn't win, but it weren't short off a bloody miracle. With that dog shit defence he had out there, another manager would have conceded 100 plus goals that season. Yeah,
you will never convince me that Mourinho wouldn't have won the Carabao Cup. By the way, I think he would have.
Probably the best manager ever when it comes to a cup as well, in my opinion. But I do wonder whether all the other big managers I've seen that basically had the checkbook on their side, and if the player hasn't been the right player, it is down to them because they've had the money to buy who they want in the world.
Every manager who's had a checkbook is like successful.
Again, naive.
No, I know that. That's what I just said. I just said they don't always get them right. I just wonder, could some of them do it at a smaller club? That's all I wonder. Even keep them in the same position.
Manager thing, right? I love when I hear this. Name me a manager who isn't a checkbook manager. In this day and age, everyone is spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions.
Pochettino at Spurs.
And didn't achieve.
But I think you missed the point.
No, but Savva, again, going back, what does achieve at Spurs?
Right, but Arian, the point is here, right? If we're talking about checkbook manager, what about the young? Like we're just disregarding all of the brilliant youth players.
I got one. Savva, I got one though.
Hang on. Right, we're just disregarding all of the work Pep Guardiola does with all the youth teams that he goes to. We're just disregarding all of these players that he's coached and have brought through to be top world-class footballers. And we say checkbook manager. Cool. He's a checkbook manager. How many of Barcelona's fantastic 11 were bought? Come on then, geniuses, when he's a checkbook manager. Come on. How many were bought?
I don't know. Probably
2.
Probably like 8.
David Villa, possibly.
No, it wasn't that David Villa?
2, wasn't it? Was it 2 or 3? It wasn't many. I know that.
You tell me.
Theo was there. Who was the other centre back? Can't remember his name.
So they had. I'll tell you the team.
Neymar was
right?
what?
So they had Victor Valdez in goal from the youth team.
But Neymar
right?
They
had Alves, who was bought. Danny Alves was bought. PK and Puyol. Now PK had gone to Man United, but was from the Barcelona academy, right? And Carlos Puyol, who was the captain from the Barcelona academy. They had Jordi Alba, who came through the academy but had left and come back, right? You then had Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, Pedro, Messi. So we're talking about 2 or 3 of those of the greatest team that ever lived were bought. The rest were coached by who as kids? That's right.
I get that. No, I get that. And maybe I used the wrong example then. But my point is, people look at things differently. What I call a checkbook manager is a manager that can say, I want him, go get him. And he turns up. Pep has had that at every club.
That hasn't happened to Pep. See, again.
It did at Bayern Munich.
Hang on again. So let's look at Man City, right? Let's look at Man City. While the rest of the world are going and buying Neymars for 150 millions, if we're talking about checkbook managers that just want whoever they want, who's the highest paid player that they've paid for under Pep?
Erling Haaland.
Grealish.
Jack Grealish.
I thought you were talking about wages.
Jack Grealish. You look at the majority of the players that Pep has bought, right, are less than the majority of what Man United and Chelsea pay for their players. Right? If you look at most of them...
No, they're sort of 50, 60 million, aren't they?
Right. And most of them sit in that bracket. The difference is Pep Guardiola knows a player. Pep Guardiola realises if I buy him, I can coach him. But no one talks about Alvarez, 15 million euros they spent. Yeah. Alvarez was 15 million euros. Erling Haaland was only 60 million quid, right?
That Haaland deal, if you look into it, though, it's a little shit. It's 60 million, but...
51.
Doesn't matter, Arian. That's the transfer fee.
But
Yeah.
no, but they realistically spent much more.
Arian, he wasn't going. My point is, in Pep's time at Man City, has he gone out and bought the best in the world in any position?
Not many have, but no.
Right, but okay, but this is my point. So
Yeah.
Real Madrid, as Galacticos for years, would go and
Yeah.
go, we want Zidane, boom. We want Figo, boom. We want Beckham, we want Ronaldo, right? Man City, they always go the next level down and Pep coaches them up. Always.
That's fair. That's
I
fair.
think, Sav, I think where I felt envious of being a Spurs fan of Man City, I remember the year Walker joined them.
Yeah.
And he spent 220 million, didn't he, on 4 fullbacks that season, which is something that our club would never, ever do for a manager.
No, never.
He'd never do that. He bought Walker, he bought Cancelo. I'm trying to think who the other two were. It was about, was it
Danilo
17?
and was it not Danilo and Angelino? Or I don't think Cancelo and Walker were the same year.
I think
the biggest.
No, we've
I think
spent
at
more money than Man
Barcelona
City in the last 6 years.
I think at Barcelona, Pep, his biggest player he bought was one of the biggest cock-ups he's ever bought in a player.
Zlatan?
If I remember right. Ibrahimovic.
Yeah.
Possibly.
And if I remember right, he spent, was it 65, 70 million on him? And I think that has been his biggest mistake. But
that was
how
the
many
biggest ego ever.
Yeah, but he could not handle Ibrahimovic. Ibrahimovic was just too big for his own boot. No manager has handled Ibrahimovic.
He didn't want
I disagree.
to
He couldn't handle him. I
Why did
disagree.
he sell him? He sold him because he gave it too much back to Pep and said, I don't agree. Yeah, check up on Ibrahimovic's history, what he said. He did not like what Pep told him.
But the difference is, Dan, this is the difference. He didn't need Zlatan. This is the thing. Other clubs
Then
need
why did he
Zlatan.
spend 70 million on him? That's a silly comment. You don't go paying
Dan,
70 million
Again,
for a
Dan,
player
you're showing
that you
don't
don't
know your
need.
history. You're showing you don't need your history. Look at the top players down the years that Pep Guardiola go, nah, don't need that. That don't fit in with me. Yeah. Look at he did it. Yaya Toure didn't need him. Got rid of him. Right. Yaya Toure.
I was purely talking about Ibrahimovic.
No, I know, but this is the thing. One player, right?
Probably the
Ibrahimovic
hardest
wasn't
player
his-
in the world to manage.
Ibrahimovic. Well, you don't know that. From what you've read, he's one of the hardest to manage, right? But
I can only go same as you. I can only go by what I read and what I see and what I hear of.
Sure, but the thing is, at the end of the day, look what he did with Cancelo, right? See you later. You don't want to be here. See you later. You don't want to be here. See you later. You're causing a fuss. See you later.
And
Pep don't need them.
Zlatan was not there before Pep. He went and bought him for 70.
Sure.
What's it saying? 69.5.
At the end of the day,
making
he's
someone
not,
on the side, right?
He's not saying
he's a brilliant
Pep's
coach.
never made a mistake.
I just used I used the wrong example. Pep, he's been
Savva,
one of the best managers ever.
You want me to give you an example of a manager who succeeded and he wasn't a checkbook manager? I think I've got one. You don't know? Claudio Ranieri. I think that's a fair one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's
like the one coach who's done it.
He's the one with Leicester that everyone goes to as the anomaly, right?
Right.
But there's a difference between doing it and keeping them there, right?
I know.
Everybody spends money. If you look in the last 6 years in the Premier League, Man City aren't even near the top of money spent, yet they've won 4 league titles in that time. There's a difference, right? You can give money to people. They need to be able to spend it properly. So when we call people checkbook managers, look how much money Mikel Arteta has spent in the last 5 years. Look how much money in that same time Chelsea have spent. Look how much money Man United have spent. Look how much money Tottenham have spent. In the last 5 years, those 4 clubs have spent more money than Man City. Man City are winning everything. Why? Because he's a bloody brilliant coach that can get the best out of it. You can't just be a checkbook manager. This never makes sense. There's a reason.
What they do, what they do is they pay the wages, Dan. City pay the wages.
Yes, they do.
I think their wage
who makes the buys then?
I think their wage bills are highest in the Premier League. But
who makes the buys? The manager or the scout? Who picks the players he wants? Or did Pep ever have to sit there and have a choice of 5 players? I don't know. Or is he in that much of a position where Pep can just sit there and just say, that's who I want? go get him? I don't know.
Sure, but at the end of the day, at the end of the day, Pep could have.
How many managers had that privilege?
Yeah, but the thing is, at Man City, they've never actually. This, again, when you actually drill down to it, he's never gone out and bought people that are winning Ballon d'Ors. He's gone out and bought the next level down and upskilled them. When you look at people that came in like Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, these are good footballers, but these are people that Pep's looked at and gone, I can work with that player. That player plays my way. Go and get them.
I agree.
Right?
This all
Right?
came
He's
from
not
me saying
going out.
Frank is better than him.
Other than Grealish at 100 million, no one at Man City has been anywhere near 100 million pounds.
No,
Chelsea,
I agree. I just used the wrong example, and I've already put my hands up to it. But the only
Guardiola
question I was ever asking is,
wasn't
Yeah, it was.
the only question I ever ask with the massive managers, and Pep, okay, wrong example. I put my hands there, yeah. But I just have always questioned with a lot of the massive managers, if they did not have the checkbook in their pocket, and what I mean by that is say, get me that player, and he comes. End of. Like Ferguson, I want Berbatov on the plate. I want this player on the plate.
Doesn't do that. Name me a manager that doesn't do that. That's successful.
That is my point. Like every other manager who can't bloody do it.
It's not really a point,
right?
Because if
but
you're
it is
at
a point.
Could
the other manager who is that great, right? But could the manager who is that great, and I'm not saying, I'm just saying all the world-class managers, so-called there's been, could they really sit there and be able to make that team better just because they're a better coach? Or would they be in a bit of trouble because some of the players are just that bad that he knows he needs better players?
I mean,
that's the only question I ever asked.
Do you know what Pep would do? Let's be honest. If Pep was,
I just said any manager. You keep bringing up Pep. No, not that. You keep bringing up Pep now.
Because
and I've already put my hands. And I already put my hands up.
Let me fucking
talk.
Well,
all right, Winston, chill out.
No, every time I've started a sentence, you just jump. It's like
because you keep bringing Pep up when I've already said it was the wrong one.
Okay. Pep, Jose, Ancelotti, Klopp, use whoever you want. These managers wouldn't get the players that they're getting now, but they still know the type of player they want, and they would get the next level down and coach them. That is why they are the best managers and coaches in world football. There is a reason why Thomas Frank, by the way, there's a reason why Thomas Frank is not getting big jobs. There's a reason, right? Because there are limits to what a Thomas Frank can do. He's a motivator. He's a good coach. He's a motivator.
You know what,
you stick Thomas Frank into Man City's dressing room with ego everywhere, right? And say, right, you are now, Thomas, you can't get away with losing 13, 14 Premier League games a season. You can only lose 3 and we've got to be in a title race. This is now a different set of management skills.
Absolutely.
This is a different
100%.
set of skills, right? Now, the problem you've got is every manager, if you look at the last 10 years at the clubs that have spent money, why are all these other clubs not doing what the best manager has done, right? And the reason I use Pep is Pep's been at City, spent the money less than the others, and won. Why have Man U who have spent that money? Why have Chelsea who have spent that money? Arsenal. I'll tell you why. Spurs. Right? Because they don't spend it as well. And the managers aren't as good. If Pep Guardiola had had £1 billion or 800 million, whatever Arteta has had at Arsenal by now, you don't think they're winning that league title?
I agree. And like I said to you, Pep, my whole man's up. It was the wrong example.
No, I know, but I'm saying Jose, same thing.
If you're going,
same thing.
Let's get back.
All I ever ask is, could great managers go to an average club when they literally haven't got a pot to piss in and make that club significantly better?
Yes.
Until you ever see it, you don't know.
But
well, we have seen it. We've seen it with Ancelotti. We've seen it with Mourinho.
Would Messi score goals playing for Brentford? Until we see it, we don't know.
I'd hope so. All it ever was a question that I'd just love to see happen.
Here's the thing.
I know, but it's never going to happen, is it? Because like anything in life, top players don't sign for smaller clubs.
Also, it kind of did happen, actually, with Eriksson when he went to Brentford. It kind of did happen. And he saved them from relegation.
Yeah, but Ericsson was just coming back from having a heart attack on the football pitch.
I know that, but do you remember? But do you remember how like people kind of forget? Brentford were almost like gonna get relegated that season without Ericsson, and he completely saved them.
Unfortunately, guys, the one manager who has been successful at lower leagues got transported into our club for the last 2 years, and look what's happened there.
But a lot of it is the remit they're given, right, Lubo? So, for example, right, when we're saying about managers wouldn't do it at smaller clubs, the problem, my biggest issue always with Conte and Jose to a lesser extent was you looked at their tenure as manager everywhere they've been. More Conte. Conte's average tenure as a football manager was 18 to 20 months, right?
Yeah.
So when people are going, if this guy's given 500 million and 5 seasons, but that's not what he does.
No,
Conte's never rocked up to a club and gone, give me 5 years. Do you know when Conte would have been superb for Spurs and Jose? They would have been superb for Spurs the year Poch got second and couldn't get over the line. If you had given them that team and a few more players, you go on, Jose, go on, Conte, win it. But this whole Conte forced out by fans, Conte, there's a reason he turned us down.
He didn't want to be here. He didn't want to be here in the first place. Like I said,
it's all over £50 million a year to come to.
Do you know what it was? Do you know what it was? Conte walked in. Just take Chelsea as an example. Conte's walked into Chelsea. He's got an owner there that is desperate for success.
Yes.
What do you need? Here's your team. What do you need? You've got it. Go ahead and buy it. Go ahead and put the final pieces together. Comes to Tottenham, different story. I need a lot more than I needed at Chelsea. What are you going to do to help me? Well, I need. Was it Ruben Diaz? I got Joe Rodon, something like that. You know,
We had Ruben Diaz, and City just come in and took him because they offered more money.
No, it wasn't. Dan, it wasn't. It wasn't.
He was at the stadium.
No,
he was at the stadium. Yes, he was.
No, City bought, I think, Diaz in January. Jose came in September, way before City. I think
we had Diaz on the plate.
One of them.
And he just come in and offered him the wages and that, and he just walked away. Same as Wilson. What's his name?
No, they didn't. They wouldn't pay. They were €10 million short on the Diaz money. Levy would not offer the full amount, and that's why Diaz went.
Fair enough. I always went because it was on the wages, but
no, that was the year after. That was the year after the COVID. You know, when the season started later and the transfer window went to October, and I think I'm sure it was Jose's. It was Jose's connection with Diaz being Portuguese, and he went in, and that's who he wanted. And I think it was 64 million that City ended up paying. Levy only offered 45 or 50. It was less, and unfortunately we didn't get Diaz, and City came in the next window, which was the January window. You know, another one again. You know, if that had been Conte with Chelsea, I mean, no wonder Jose got pissed off with it.
Look, do you have any?
They never got backed at the right time with the right players.
What I'm reading here on 4 different pages is missed out. Tottenham failed on Luis Diaz, who they basically had because they hesitated too much on his wages. 4 different things I've just read that on. But who knows what's true? We weren't there.
Well,
you guys are. I think you guys.
I'll send you the links.
You're thinking of Luis Diaz. He's talking about Ruben Diaz. That's 2 different Diazes.
Yeah, I'm talking about Ruben Diaz, the defender.
Here's the thing.
Man City walked in and took him on the wages.
By the way.
I have to.
Who?
That's funny. I have to go. It's 6 a.m. I've got class in 3 hours.
Okay.
Oh man!
I've got class in 3 hours.
Thanks for coming on, and I'm glad you're now Ange out. It's refreshing to see.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron.
Because
he's seen the light.
I said it.
I know
if
you
I'm
said
wrong,
it.
I'm wrong. It's just
but fair play to be able to come on in there and admit you're wrong, like I've had to do many a time, mate. That's fair play to you. Credit where it's due.
So, yeah, I'm hard-headed, but I'm not. If I'm wrong, it's what it is. Right? At some point, I'll be right.
Listen, appreciate you coming on, mate. It's always good to get different views. So thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me. Have a good rest of the show.
You take care. Guys, yeah, just quickly. Spurs have just announced that we are delighted to announce that Vinay Venkatesham will be joining the club's board as Chief Executive Officer in the summer. Vinay brings expertise in both sporting and commercial operations, having previously served as the CEO at Arsenal Football Club. I'll leave it at Arsenal Football Club. Look, no matter what we talk about, look, at the end of the day, I've always been of the same opinion. The best managers get the best jobs. There's a reason why Ange won't get a better job than Spurs. There's a reason why if Diego Simeone leaves Atletico Madrid, he won't go to a small club. He will go to a bloody big club, because you're not just paying for them to be able to pay for footballers. You're paying for them to be able to coach them, keep them happy, and keep them running through brick walls for you. Look, using Pep as the example, he's managed to get that group of Man City players to run through brick walls for him for 4 years in a row. 4 years in a row. And then the 1 year that it's 1 year too many, everyone starts going, Pep shit, he's lost it. And you're like, whoa, hang on. Like, they've just dominated football for 4 to 6 to 7, 8 years. It's utter madness. But just to prove my point, right? Do you know what? They've only ever signed 3 players, Man City, that cost more than Dominic Solanke.
Yeah.
Just saying. I'm just saying. I know they pay the wages, but that's where we're at. That's where we're at.
We're talking Gvardiol, Grealish,
and Marmoush.
So
Ruben Diaz, Rodri, and Mahrez, and Laporte, and Cancelo all come in at roughly the £60 million mark, roughly, depending on the euro at the time. So it's difficult to, because of the euro's different then. So we're talking about the same rough prices as the likes of Ndombele and Solanke, right? They pay the wages. So, you know, it is what it is.
Until we pay them wages, we are not going to get the players we need to take us up a level.
Dan, until we get new owners, nothing's going to change.
Okay. Whether it's new owners or not. Okay, then if the new owners go, what do we... And Ian, if we get new owners, what do? Pay better wages. So until we pay better wages, we will not get better players, whether we got new owners or not. If Daniel Levy all of a sudden has a wet dream and thinks like, oh, I've got to do this, and starts paying the wages, we will get better players, because we do pay money up front. We do pay money for players. So whether he goes or stays, until we pay the wages, we will never get the top players.
Dan, instead of one £60 million player, he'll buy 2 at 30.
I'm not disputing none of that, Ian. As all I'm saying is, until we pay wages, whether he's here or not here, which will probably be when he's not here, we won't get the top play. We won't get the top players, because that is what the majority want.
Yeah. The problem you've got as well that we've got to take into account here, and I know we just say just pay the wages. The problem is you've got to be within striking distance for those players who want those big wages to join. And what I mean by that is, if we rock up to a club and we're not in, if we rock up to a player that's worth 250, 300 grand a week, then the chances are that that player is going to be wanted by other clubs as well. If we're 14th in the table, no European football, it's very difficult to turn around and go, join us. Well, we'll pay 250. Yeah, but so will they. And this is always going to be the chicken and the egg problem. And this all goes back to when Poch had us and we had that squad that was second and that was brilliant. That's when we had to kick on. When we were saying, hey, look what we've done. This is what, look what we've done. Yeah. Look how you help us. Now, what top player is joining Tottenham Hotspur right now?
Well,
that one I agree with.
Only time will tell what damage all these guys have done to Tottenham's standing over the last 2 years.
I agree. I mean, I'm always one to say.
Before then, we were still getting into Europe, weren't we? So we were there or thereabouts, although we weren't challenging. This is a whole new ball game. The whole thing's just crashed.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been one of the first to say that I think 80% of players out there, they don't play necessarily for the game like players used to, and they are mercenaries. And you offer the money, you can get them in your team. But the situation we're in now, it's a total different kettle of fish. You can go and offer exactly. But when you're a club,
someone else probably is.
But when you're a club that is fighting for top 4, if you go, you spend that money, you can get top players, in my opinion, that you would think are too good for the club because you've slammed the wages down on the table. Because a lot of players, in my opinion, are mercenaries these days. They're not necessarily just playing football; it's their job. Whereas a lot of other players, when you go back 20 years, wasn't just a job; they absolutely loved it. And I feel in that aspect, it's easier to get a bigger player than it was back then because a lot more play for money. But the situation we are in now, I have to totally go back on what I'm saying because I think we could get a good player out there, a very good player. And the only way we'd get him at the club is if we offered him like £1 million a week, and he'd have to be an out-and-out mercenary to accept it. We are in such a shit position now that we're going to even struggle to bring in players that aren't even fully established yet, that are just starting to make a good name for themselves.
Dan,
the other ones look at them.
I'll tell you where we're at. We talk about a striker. We talk about Richie and Solanke needing replacing.
Whereas last season, Ian, last season we weren't in that situation. Last season we were actually fit. And last season we could have argued if we would have paid the money, we could have got better players. But we did not pay the wages. Whereas now we're in 14th.
Sure. But also the manager plays a factor in that, right?
Of course.
The manager plays
a factor in that. I can agree.
If you rock up to a top player, like not even a top player, like right now, let me chuck a name at you that everyone talks about, and I would love him, but I can't see any way, shape, or form he joins us. I think we mentioned it earlier, Edison, right? If we talk about Edison from Atalanta, he's being highly touted about as lots of clubs would want him, right? Right now, clubs are going to be after him, one, that are bigger than Spurs, but two, that will have better managers. If they rock up, footballers will look at this. Listen to football players in podcasts, the ex-pros. They talk about it. They'll say, right, your agent comes to you and says, do you know what? Listen, Newcastle United want you and Tottenham want you. They're the two bids on the table, right? Both are going to pay you 250 grand a week, right? Players will go, well, hang on, let's have a look at the track record of what this guy does for players versus what does this guy do for players. If you're, I'm just using Newcastle because I don't want to use the big four as the example because that's
I get the point you're coming from. I get where you're coming from.
Again, Aston Villa. If right now Spurs are in a race with a player like Edison with Aston Villa for Edison signing, be brutally honest, you're going to look as a player and go, do I want to go and join Unai Emery, right, who's done X, Y, Z, and is well-renowned across world football, or do I want to join Ange Postecoglou, who is arguing with fans, right, rude in press conferences, isn't getting the best out of his team, 14th in the table. I'm just saying.
And one final thing, because I've got to shoot, Sav. Ange is part of a club that doesn't value trophies from the top and hasn't won anything for 17 years. So that's why we're in a complete mess. That's why we've got to start. We've got to get these owners out, or at least get a Ratcliffe type situation where someone's going to come in, if it's at all possible, with this megalomaniac, by 25%, run the football side, and then all of a sudden you've got a fresh face. The place is exciting again. Go and get a couple of statement signings out there and push on from there. And until that happens, we're just heading down and down and down. This club's in free fall.
The other problem is we don't pay agents either.
Have you got? I was going to wrap up at 20 past. Have you got two?
I've got to tell you, no, I've got an appointment at 2:30. I cannot miss.
No worries. I was just going to ask you. I asked Dan then. I was just going to ask about the. There's people in the chat fuming about this Vinay Venkatesham coming in as CEO. I can't sit here as a football fan and say I know anything about why they're fuming. I don't know.
I think he was part of Arsenal for several years. Yeah. He wasn't there for 5 minutes. He was there for some time, and he left a little while ago. I'm trying to think who's taken over at Arsenal. Is it any good? I'm going to ask one or two Arsenal friends of mine and find out what they thought of him.
Yeah, I'm just Googling him.
Honestly, I'd never even bloody heard of him.
Yeah, I have heard of him. I think he was at Arsenal. Sorry?
He's been at Arsenal for 4 years.
4 years.
2020 to 2024.
So
If they're
that's
saying
Arteta.
this is, if they're all saying they're bad, I don't know what we're judging CEOs against. But isn't that the years where they've gone like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when Matt's telling me to get upset in the chat about Vinter, what am I getting upset about exactly?
Listen, the funny thing is that apart from, thank God Arteta's had a blind spot when it's come to centre forwards, otherwise they'd have won the league by now during that period. Yeah. I'll catch you later.
Should I end the show? I'll end the show. Lubo, you jump off. I'm going to do some super chats quickly. Dan, I love it when we have one of our feisty mornings, Dan. I really do like it.
It's all fun and games, mate. All fun and games.
Aris has just put in a super chat. Really appreciate it, mate. Really, really do appreciate it. Always very generous to me, my man. So thank you very much for that. Really do appreciate it. A user said, chuck our front line in the bin along with the manager. Listen, can't agree with you more, mate. But 2 of that 3 in the front line were his. So you've got to ask questions about that, haven't you? Big up to you, A user. A user's come in again and said, I know what we all want. With Levy, it ain't happening. Of course, it's been the way of Tottenham for many, many, many years. Big up to you again. Gambling. Listen, what I'll do is I'm going to do a show tomorrow morning. Give me today to go and do a little bit of digging as to, I don't know the guy. I try to make it a point not to know CEOs of football clubs. It's not really my thing.
Yeah.
So let me go and have a look at this and we'll discuss this in the morning, Gambling. And then the last comment I got was JS at the time I saw this and saved it. He said, so if it's just about goals, but Johnson is crap, be consistent. He was talking about Solanke. JS, the difference is that the position that Solanke's on the pitch, he has to score goals. The position Johnson's on the pitch, he doesn't need to just be scoring goals. He needs to be doing more. So you've kind of got the juxtaposition here that the one that should be scoring goals isn't. The one that doesn't need to score as many is, but then that takes away from... Does that make sense, Dan?
Yeah. Let's just put it straight. Solanke is just crap and Johnson just taps it in, basically. But he has done his job to an extent.
Yeah. Listen, Brennan Johnson, I can never, ever, ever knock his goals, right?
No.
That's brilliant in games like Southampton. In games like yesterday, I'm saying we're playing with...
Where are you?
Sonny. Just quickly, Matt. So why do we need an Arsenal rejects? I mean, Matt, right now, within a minute, without Googling, what do you know about Vinay and why he did a bad job at Arsenal? Why are we so accepting of the bare minimum? What the hell have we heard of this fella to give us any confidence? I've not heard anything about this fella, mate. What are you getting upset about, Matt?
The fact that he's from Arsenal. This is one that also... Right. This is also one that agitates me a little bit in the aspect of when people say rejects, yeah? So does that mean every player you buy is a reject just because it didn't necessarily work for him at that club? Even though you know he's a good player, and we know players, like, we can even vouch for our own players at Spurs, 75% of them just ain't, they're not performing because they're not playing the right way. The coach, the manager, this, that, everything else. Now, if someone else comes, say Brighton just come back in out of nowhere and pick out Basuma, and all of a sudden Basuma's playing the way he was at Brighton again, has he just been a Spurs reject? Or is it that they just know how to play the player? Like you said with the coaching.
Yeah.
I think people use reject too easy.
Oh, mate, do you know what makes me laugh? Is listen, I mean, I've looked at his wiki page. I'm still none the wiser as to anything. All I know is he was at Arsenal for 14 years in different roles. So he couldn't have been that bad at his job if he was there and got promoted different times. We've got Ash, thanks, mate, has put in, during his time as CEO, revenue grew from 340 million to a record 615, the highest growth for a club in England, and EBITDA grew from 40 to 140 million. I think the problem is we're getting to the stage, Dan, right, where I don't want to be arguing about CEOs. I did not set up my football channel to talk about men in suits, right?
No.
I really didn't.
If you want to do that, then you go and watch that TV show that my wife loves called Suits. Then you go and do that.
Love that. Great show.
Oh, my wife loves it. I just can't get into it. I prefer Game of Thrones. But what you're
So we're like-
saying is right. I don't.
Okay, look at this.
Some
Look at
people
this.
will just get the ump because he's come from Arsenal. Do you know what? If we went and say for instance, we got new managers in who are multi-billionaires, slammed £200 million on the table and said, right, Declan Rice will give you 450 grand a week, and we get him, yeah? You'd still see a shitload of those Spurs fans. We don't want Declan Rice. He was at Arsenal. I don't give a I couldn't care less where he come from. He comes to us and done the job. Good and proper. Same as I don't care about where we get new owners from. People say, I don't want the oil money. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't care if the money comes from bloody Colombia, mate. As long as it gets put on the bloody pitch, I couldn't care less. I don't care.
It could come in little packets. It could come in little packets.
You know what I mean?
Like, do you know what makes me laugh? I'll tell you about this. Is look, now I've got kudos going. He said Matt is actually right. Vinay did a bad job. I'll tell you what then, guys, all of you experts in the chat, please tell me what was Vinay's, right? What was his remit at Arsenal and why didn't he hit it?
If he was there for that long, he must have been doing something.
You do realise,
right?
as CEO, his job isn't scouting or director of football.
No.
You do realise. Again, do people not understand? Right, let me try and break
Tell them
this
what
down.
a CEO does. Tell them what a CEO is there for.
Let's try and break
and then hopefully
this
I
down.
learn something as well, because I don't know 100%
Right,
either.
let's try and break this down for people. Football clubs are businesses. At the end of the day, they still are run as businesses. Whether or not we only care about the football, they're businesses. Every business has a chief executive officer who oversees everything, right? The chief executive officer is ultimately the guy that can say fired, hired, sign off this, do that. This guy, ultimately, the buck stops there. The same we talk about Daniel Levy as the CEO of Tottenham Hotspur, right? Now, Daniel Levy's job at Tottenham Hotspur isn't to go and scout footballers. Now, we could say that Daniel Levy vetoes moves for players. Sure. We could say that Daniel Levy didn't sign off a move for a player, yeah, or wanted this. But what we can't do is say Daniel Levy's a director of football, right? As a CEO, there is always going to, I hate to break this to people who don't understand how businesses work. When you're saying you don't care how much money he generated, right? And I'm not the biggest finance person in the world, but as a CEO that goes to his board of directors, the CEO has a board, right? The board, he will sit on the board and the board can vote people out depending on the shares and their power that they've got. As a business, they're going to look and go, we have gone from 340 million revenue to 615 million revenue. It's the highest of any business that does what we do, i.e. a football club in the country, right? Everyone's going to go, what a bloody good job he's done, right? So when these experts that are going, oh, but Lee Gunner said he's bad. All right, cool. I'll message Lee Gunner and find out why. But you don't actually know what you're upset about. You're all upset about something that you don't actually know. It's mad. What are you? It's mad. He's not a director of football. You're on mute. The CEO is not a director of football. We really need to stop. Do you know what? For those that don't understand how businesses work, after this, just go and Google org structure of a large business, and it will show you CEO, CFO, CCO, Chief Marketing Officer, CMO, this, that, the other. It will show you everything in the structure. There has to be a guy at the top, and the guy at the top or the girl at the top are often not liked. That's the way it is, because they make the bad decisions. They make the decisions that affect everybody, right?
I know, I get it. I just hear it in different things. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying now is the CEO. It's basically what they call in other situations a dev. Yeah, it's basically the same sort of thing. No, I get it now, because, yeah, I 100% understand what you mean. It's just called another thing on things that I watch. It's purely because his name is Arsenal. Because he's come from Arsenal.
again, Phil, every CEO will run their business different. For example, you know, the one thing that we always say about Daniel Levy is that we want him to hire someone that runs the football side and doesn't need Daniel Levy to sign off signings, that says, here's the budget, this is what you've got to play with, go and do it. Some CEOs will go on then. Man City CEO, right, will turn around to Beckenstein, or however you say his name, and Pep Guardiola throughout their tenure and go, I'm employing you, go and do it. You know the budget, you know what you can play with, go and do it. At Tottenham, it's different. At every football club, it is different. The problem that we've got is, what does this CEO mean for Levy's relationship with this person? How much control is this person going to have? And I think we kind of know, we know
where
from
it's
experience, we know the
where
answer.
it's not going to go. I mean,
Right.
basically, the CEO is the one who is basically being employed to pretty much do part of Daniel Levy's job, sort of thing. He's the one who stands there like what they call a dev as such, right? You're the one who tells them, you're the one who employs them, you're the one who tells them how you want it done, basically. They're high up in the ranks. I get it. It goes on in other things as well, where you basically have the one who says, no, I want it like that. And even when they come in with a good idea, they even take the person's idea, or they still tell him, no, that's I want it this way. He's basically a slightly lower version of what Daniel Levy is doing at the moment.
Yeah.
Basically.
It was. I'm just having a look. I'm just Googling like what's being said about him. Like Vinay, the club CEO, has confirmed he will leave Arsenal next summer. He said this was a tough decision, but it's time to pursue another challenge. Now is time to say goodbye. The board is fully supportive of Vinay's desire to pursue his next challenge, while still wanting him to remain in his position. Change and succession is something the club is well prepared for. The board remains committed to the same strategy. I don't know what I'm looking for online that's meant to be so bad about him.
It's because his name is Arsenal. It's because he's come from Arsenal, and and to me, that is one of the most stupid things out there, where people will just get the and don't want a player, or don't want this because it's not politically bloody correct, or it's not from a team that they like. I don't care. As long as he comes here and does the bloody job properly, I couldn't give a monkey's whether he come from Coventry or Arsenal or Chelsea or bloody whoever else. As long as he comes here and does the job, what do I care? It's certain players that you don't want, right? We didn't want Solanke. I don't want Solanke. But if he comes here and scores 25 goals in a season in these next 3 seasons, I'm happy we got Solanke. But they've got to also produce.
I'm just searching and I can't find anything bad.
Perfect player as example. And I was actually happy when we got him, because I actually quite rated him as a centre-back. Not one of the best ever, but I thought he was a solid centre-back. Gallas. Was it Gallas? Who had been at Arsenal, then Chelsea, then he came to us. I personally thought he was a good defender, better than average.
Very good.
Very good. And okay, he was getting onto the latter stage of his career, but I thought he was actually quite a solid defender, and I was happy we got him. But a lot of my mates and other people I knew totally went off their head because he came from Arsenal and Chelsea. I don't care. As long as he comes here, as long as he comes and does the job, who gives a monkey's where he come from?
Agreed. I mean, Matt, sorry, Matt, I know you're a troll, but why are you so easily accepting? Easily accepting of what? I found out this news at the exact same time as you, and I'm live. What is it that you want me to do? Do you want me to complain about someone that I have no knowledge of? Do you want me to go, oh, this is shit? I don't know.
That's like walking down. That's just like walking down the road and looking at someone because he's got better shoes at you and saying he's a prick and he's an absolute wanker in life, sort of thing. We don't know nothing about this fella, or a lot of us don't. So let's see how he comes in and does his job.
Matt,
Fake company. Do you know what?
I just said he will have no control. I've just said, Dan and I just had this very conversation. When you're saying call it out, call what out? What do you want me to call out? Matt, you're not making any sense. This is deflecting for how bad Ange is. Because we don't like Ange, you now want to deflect. right? You want to deflect, right? You have no idea, Matt, what this guy is good at. You have no idea what he's being brought in for because the club announced it about 30 minutes ago. But you want to be outraged by it for what? Okay,
The fact that he came from
signed a
Arsenal.
deal with a fake company. So, what
Do you
are
know,
we doing?
again, I don't. Well, then, how many people turned round and said, "Not the best there's ever been, but we'd like Peratici back."
Yes,
And that is one of the most bent. That is one of the most bent, corrupt people out there. Who's probably been at the most bent, corrupt club ever, Juventus, and done his job when he was with us to a certain extent, better than what others have done it over the year. So I don't care if he's bent and corrupt and whatever. As long as he comes here and does the bloody job properly, I couldn't care less.
Here you go. So this is what Matt's upset about, right? Matt's upset about this, apparently. I think I found it, right? Here we go. So let's read this. It says, oh, hang on, that's very small. Even for my good eyes, that's really small. That's still small. Let's go one bigger. So it says a high-profile sponsorship deal between. Hang on, I'll tell you what. Let me find out what year this was before. So this was 7 years ago, right? So since this, yeah, he has been promoted from managing director to CEO. So it couldn't have been all that bad, right? Gunners outgunned. Arsenal caught up in bizarre BYD fraud case. Oh, this sounds juicy, right? Here we go. A high-profile sponsorship deal between English Premier League club Arsenal and a Chinese automaker BYD has been caught up in a bizarre case of fraud centering around one woman, false identities and forged company seals. Blah, 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 blah. On April the 23rd, Arsenal posted a statement on its website saying a global agreement with the world's best-selling electric vehicle manufacturer, BYD Auto, blah, 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 blah. Right. According to Global Times, after suspicion rose in June, BYD discovered that they'd rented an office in Shanghai and claimed it was a branch of BYD where she identified herself as general manager, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm seeing absolutely nothing of any interest to me in there at all that I give a shit about. I don't know about you. I don't give a shit. I don't care.
As long as he comes here and does his job, I could not care less. I don't care whether he does it what way or this way. As long as it comes here and he does the job, who cares? And I just think it's what I said. I think there's a few people who are just, they hear the word Arsenal and straight away you could say they're toxic negative on it just because the name Arsenal was said. When we could have actually just here got one of the best CEOs ever. We don't know. Only bloody knew what the CEO does at Spurs until Savva until you blatantly put it down. And then it made sense because I know it on a different side sort of thing. And most of the people don't even know it, and they're complaining about it.
Do you know the funny thing about this? If I'm just going to look at this, if I'm going to look at this on the cold face, right? Since he's been CEO at Arsenal, they've been doing that. They've been getting better and better and better. Now, I'm not giving him the credit. I'm just saying, everyone's going, "Oh my God, look what he's done." Cool, all right. Well, the last 4 years that he's been the CEO of the football club, they've gone 8th, 5th, 2nd, bought people like Declan Rice for £100 million, right?
Exactly.
And yet I'm meant to believe because some fan says that Lee Gunner said, listen, I'll speak to Lee. I'm friends with Lee. I'll message Lee and go, what's this dude all about? But why on earth is any football fan really giving a fucking shit about this?
Exactly. And this is what we talk about, doing your job properly, yeah? Whether it's a manager, whether it's a player, whether it's, I don't care if it's Mickey Mouse or whatever, yeah? To be at a club like Arsenal, whether people like it or not, and some people I find on other bits just seem to get really moody when we speak, some say highly of them. I don't speak highly of them, I just speak realistically of them. They've been better than us through football, simple as that. At the moment, they are better than us. Deal with it. It's a fact. Like it or lump it. But if he's been at such a big club like Arsenal, who are what? Are they the 3rd or 4th biggest club in England? It's either them or Chelsea, isn't it?
Yeah,
no.
Arsenal are the 3rd biggest club in the country, I think, on all metrics, I believe.
What is it? It's Liverpool. It's either Man U, Liverpool, and then it comes to whoever's next, because they're bigger than City. like when you go support-wise and everything else and all that. City have overtaken on cups and that, but they're still not a massive club, as in the support they've got, yeah? Arsenal are a worldwide massive club when it comes to that. So if he's stayed there for that amount of time you said, and also gone up in the ranks, surely he's got to have been done something right in his job. I mean, what his job was at the club and what he had to do or whatever, who knows? Maybe Mickey Mouse will phone me up and tell me. I don't know, yeah? But to be let's say a business of that size for so long, he's got to have done something right.
Yeah. Well,
how he will do at Spurs, whatever, who knows?
There it is, Dan. So this is by honours, right? This is by honours. Liverpool top with 69, United 68. That's a title race. Arsenal 49, Man City 36, Chelsea 34, Spurs. Oh, we better hope Aston Villa don't win the FA Cup, look, because Aston Villa one behind us, then Everton, and then Newcastle, and then Nottingham Forest. So yeah, Arsenal are a huge football club. Yes, we want to belittle them because they're our rivals, but
of course,
you know, it's Ash, this is exactly it. This is football fans in 2025. He's bad. Why? I don't know. He's just really bad. Good answer. Good. That's like going to court. That's like going to court and presenting your argument. This man is the killer. Why? No idea. He looks like the killer.
Because I don't like the fact that he's got a massive beard and he just cut it off.
Because it's another chess move from Levy. Right. Have you read the report on the? I'll tell you what. Before we go, let's look at the report. Tottenham Hotspur website. Tottenham Hotspur. Let's read what's actually been said, shall we? Because Matt seems to know it's another chess move. Matt, the Ange fan, thinks it's been another chess move. Hang on, let me go to Spurs website. Why is this just not coming up? Well, there we go. It's there. Idiot. Savva, you idiot. Right, let's have a look at this news, shall we? Here you go. Tottenham appoints. There we go. Can everyone see this? Present, share screen. So let's see, because Matt knows better than this. Can everyone see this? Yeah? So, Tottenham Hotspur, let's see. We are delighted to announce that Vinay Venkatesham will be joining the club's board as Chief Executive Officer, CEO in the summer. Vinay brings expertise in both sporting and commercial operations, having previously served as the CEO at Arsenal Football Club. Prior to this, Vinay was part of the London 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games and is currently a non-executive director of the British Olympic Association. He was formerly a member of the board and executive committee of the European Club Association. Daniel Levy said the club has experienced significant growth in recent years, making it crucial to expand our executive management. I have known Vinay for many years, having worked together in the Premier League and the ECA. I am personally delighted to that he has agreed to join our board as we build for success. I'm excited to be joining Tottenham after taking some time to recharge and evaluate my options. I believe this is an exceptional opportunity to work with Daniel, the board, and all of the staff to take this club forward. Now, if that doesn't tell you that Daniel Levy's not leaving the club or selling, nothing does. But I don't know. I don't feel any way about it, Dan.
If this fella would have come from, let's just say this fella would have come from Atletico Madrid, just a random name that came in my head, yeah, and it came up that he had one, cocky bit sort of thing where he done it a bit wrong, whatever. I don't think anyone would actually care. I think it's just the fact that he's from Arsenal.
Yeah, and
it's like I'm debating with Perchy at the moment, like I just said, who cares? And he's just said he was in charge of Arsenal in their worst era. Well, he's also just left the club in one of their best eras in the past 20 years, where they've actually been trying for it. So either way, I don't know. Maybe Perchy knows more about it, and we'll have to ask him. I haven't got a clue. But if he would have come from Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, bloody Villarreal, Inter Milan, whatever,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would give a monkeys. It's just the fact that he's got Arsenal on his name, in my opinion.
But surely, if we're going to take a CEO that's run a massive club in the world football, is that a bad thing? Is it a bad thing? Surely he's got brilliant experience at it, right?
Exactly. Do you want to get the CEO that's just come from Coventry or Charlton? I don't know. Maybe he's brilliant at his job, but who would you pick? Would you pick that CEO who can show you his form and say, right, I've done it 11 years at Arsenal or whatever, or the one that said I've done it 11 years at Charlton? You'd think, well, if you've been at Charlton 11 years or whatever the number is, you're obviously not that great, mate. I don't know.
Matt, I need to explain to you how this works, right? You do realise that a lot of these people that mix in the same circles will all know each other and be friendly with each other. All the CEOs of the football clubs will know each other, all of the directors of football. When you're saying it's basically one of Levy's pals, mate, you're just... Listen, do you know what? You've really pushed my buttons today. You're literally at the stage where you're turning into the worst type of troll. You can't come on here and tell me, I've asked you, tell me why you don't like Vinay. Give me 3 reasons as to what he did bad at Arsenal. So far, you've come up with some sort of dodgy deal that took place in 2018. Tell me what he's good at. Tell me what he's bad at. You can't, mate. You're being an idiot. The CEO could definitely sack Ange. Yes, the CEO can sack Ange. But it's whether or not he's got the relationship with Levy where Levy says, go on. You can make all footballing decisions. If he can make footballing decisions, then yes, he can sack Ange.
You know what? What you just said there. I mean, I still think Ange is here because of Levy reasons as well. I think that, I mean, it'll make sense what I'm saying in a sec, yeah? Because he's basically give the fans what they wanted to majority, attacking football. He's backed up the manager with money and he's stuck through the manager through thick and thin. It's what a majority of Spurs fans ask for. Levy can sit back and say, I'll give you what you asked for, even though we all started praying that he goes back to his usual self and sacks him. If he now brings in a CEO who controls the manager and this and that, Ange goes, which he hopefully does, Levy can turn around and say, well, that was my CEO's job. And he's the one who's going to pick the next manager. If this fella has this capability, I don't know. But in that aspect, it would make some sort of sense if you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, mate, absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, I would love to think that Daniel Levy Daniel Levy runs Tottenham. Yeah, I think we all agree on that. Forget job title. Daniel Levy
no ifs or that.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
If he is hiring a CEO that will work underneath him, I would like to think that as an experienced operator, again, I don't know Vinay, but I'm looking at his credentials there. He's an experienced football guy that's been at Arsenal for 14 years as managing director, then CEO, right? I would like to think, Dan, that Daniel Levy, that Vinay has turned around to Daniel Levy and said, I will join, but I have to have control of XYZ, because that's what powerful people do. Like, if you hired me to do something, I'm turning around, I've got my questions at interview, right? Like, cool, you're hiring me to do this. What's my remit? What's success? What power do I have? Yeah? So it could be that Daniel Levy has said, I don't, just chucking it out there, mate. I'm earning these meetings. Could be that Daniel Levy's turned around and said, you decide. You're the CEO. The buck stops with you. Yeah? You need to sack a manager? You sack a manager. You need to sack a director of football? You sack a director of football. It could be that Daniel Levy said, no, hang on. We'll make that decision together. I don't know. I weren't there.
Exactly.
But most CEOs don't ask permission. CEOs don't ask permission to do anything. Right?
No.
They can go sacked.
Yeah.
Hired.
I know exactly what a CEO is after you said it, because I know it from a different perspective of the world sort of thing. Like I said, in America and with gaming and all that sort of stuff, they call them devs, and that's why half the market has crashed. And so someone with a job like a CEO, they're not going to go in there with a job like McDonald's and just say yes and get their bloody McDonald's outfit on. They are actually going to sit there, a big one, who's been at Arsenal for count time, and say, okay, he's going to say the right stuff with Levy, but he's going to have his own questions as well. Like, right, am I coming here basically to be your bitch? Or am I coming here with A, B, C, D? Yeah. Okay, I haven't got A, B. Can't we come to an agreement on that? No. Okay, but I've got the other three things I want. I'll take the job. That's the size of the job, basically. He's not going for a bloody job at McDonald's. And I very doubt he sat at the table and just shut up and said, yes, Mr. Levy. I very much doubt he did an Ange. But we don't know. He could well have. But it wouldn't make no sense for someone with that high of a job as such.
Do you know the funny thing? Like Matt here, I love this Matt guy. He has summed up human beings in 2025, Dan. So he can't give me 3 reasons as to why he doesn't like the bloke. He can't even give me one. But he doesn't like the laid-back acceptance of our fan base for accepting him. But Matt, you don't have 3 reasons. I don't have any reasons to not accept him at the moment. Now, what might happen, Matt, over the next week, month, we might start hearing some things and go, oh, I don't like that. Or we might hear some things and go, yeah, I like that. But Matt, what you've done is you've got angry about nothing. You're literally getting angry about a man you don't know, whose job you have no idea what his remit is, right? You don't know what his pros and cons are. You don't know what his successes were at Arsenal or his failures. And yet you've just turned around and said, we're accepting. Matt, who gives a shit? Like, listen, if we're having a debate about which striker comes in or manager comes in, I'm not going to be accepting, i.e. Dominic Solanke. Dan, I was not accepting of Dominic Solanke. You know why? Because I knew everything about Dominic Solanke from his career.
Exactly.
I can't sit here and go, oh, that businessman.
To top it, Matt, please, mate, just come onto my show for one day. Please. I ask you again and again and again. I will be level with you and please come on my show, mate. I would love to actually know where this comes from. Because I do actually honestly believe that he's not just a troll. I actually believe, personal opinion, that he actually believes at least half of what he's saying. I think some bits are troll. I agree. But I don't think he's an out-and-out troll. But again, what would I know? I don't know the fella. But if I pick it right on what you just said, he just said we're too accepting. Yet you're fighting tooth and bloody nail to keep Ange the up.
I know.
And you're saying we're too accepting.
I'll tell you what.
Sitting there
I'll tell you what, Dan. Let's do what Matt says. Why don't we give Vinay 3 to 5 years?
Mate, some of it
we'll give him 3 to 5 years.
Talk about about contradict yourself. We are too accepting as a club, and then start going into one at a time how we all hammer Ange too much because he's lost over 20 games this season and we're in 14th place. Matt, please just come on my show, mate.
I am going to end the show there because one of our bosses, i.e. not my boss, Dan, but your boss, has see, now this is what a CEO does, right? A CEO comes in, says, guys, it's over. See you later. Right, listen, Beth, just for you, I will release Dan. Dan, thanks very much. Love the debates.
Beth, same as always, mate. Cheers for having us on.
Next show, Beth, I want you to come on and tell us everything you know about the new Spurs CEO, please. Take care, everyone. Thank you. Man's got chores. Oh, he's got chores. Man's got chores.
Yeah, I've got some work to do today.
Love this. Matt is the new CEO of Ange Hub. Guys, gonna leave it there. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 11 for a show. And I'm doing a video later on my second channel about Mo Salah. So if anyone would help support, that'd be amazing. Take care. Thanks, Dan. Thanks to everyone who came on today. It's been loads of people. Much love to you all. And as always, Matt out, Ange out, Vinay in, and come on, you Spurs.